All right. Well. It's that time again. Monday nights, live in the counselor's corner for another open court discussion. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the controversial counselor. Joining me is my co-host, the big bad wolf, Herb Lewis. And we also have the very insightful and knowledgeable Jackie Brown joining us tonight.
Blessed evening.
Okay,
Blessed
folks,
evening.
recap from same to you. Okay, folks, recap from last week's this past Monday's broadcast, the Sierra nonsense and why it's not acceptable. We focused on several areas dealing with why women like to wear revealing clothes, such as they want attention, to please others, female empowerment. So those were just a few things. If you want to really hear everything we had to say, please go back and check out the replay on the Controversial Counselors YouTube channel. Now let's shift our focus to tonight's show, March 27th. Women, modesty, relationships in their SIMPS. You already know where my focus will be on the overuse of the word simp. Calling men that treat women with respect needs to be seems to be trending, but do simps really respect women? So that's a whole nother thing. Something for you to think about. It was something for you to think about before tonight's show. All right, our second talking point will be dealing with tests that men give women during the early stages of relationships. And I know many people say, women too, oh, I don't do tests. I don't give tests. I don't play those games. And men, and men say it too. I'm direct, open, whatever I ask, whatever I want to put on the table, I want to put on the table. But you still give tests. And like I said before in previous broadcasts, dating, we say dating is like an interview. Well, interview is basically, you're observing, observation, getting feedback, collecting data. Um, Sounds like a test. Anyways, um, so one of I'm going to give you a few to light the fire. Maybe men are checking your level of enthusiasm, especially for things that they're interested in, like hobbies or their interests. Want to know if you're the type that will support them. Number two, your sense of family. They want to know what's your family background like. Do you come from a like a wholesome family that everybody gets together? Of course, we know not every time everybody gets along, but do you have a sense of family? Because if he still wants to have children, he doesn't want to bring no children in this world in a chaotic environment where the woman doesn't have a sense of family. Number three, your sense of humor, how you handle sarcasm. Sometimes you have guys just to like to throw out jokes to kind of loosen up the environment, get you comfortable, and just to see. But if you're the type that don't have any sense of humor, uh, everything is serious to you, that could be a serious red flag. So, well, gang, we have another good lineup. Please like, share, and subscribe to the video in the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. We are sitting at, I think, 616 subscribers. So let's pick up the pace. And here we are today. So, what's good, panel members? Talk to me.
I'm going to issue a PSA, and I don't think I need to really inform our listeners of hotel etiquette. But please, people, when the sun goes down and it gets later than 11 p.m., you got to understand that people are trying to sleep. And if hotel staff comes to your door and asks you to keep the noise down, we're not doing it because we want to be assholes. We're doing it because we've received a complaint. Now, the noise level may not be loud for you, but that doesn't mean it's not loud for someone else. So just be mindful. And also, answering the door unclad just goes to further accentuate the fact that you might not be cognizant of what's going on around you. Newsflash, it doesn't start less. It just makes us think you're a bigger asshole than what you really are. Public service announcement.
All right, all right. Jackie, what's good with you?
Yes.
Anything
Yes,
good,
I'm still.
bad, indifferent?
Now she muted, so I don't think she has anything to say, Dave.
Okay. All right. For me, it's same old, same old. Just had a relaxing weekend watching March Madness. Crazy upsets and was part of this bracket at work, and I didn't even check the updated thing because I'm sure everybody bracket is just busted and been busted. So, but it was interesting. It just shows there's a lot of parity going on in sports now, and those dominant teams ain't the dominant teams anymore, and those mid-major teams is hey they stepping it up. So it's going to be an interesting Final Four. Other than that, a lot of times people ask, "Oh, what you got going on this weekend?" Not a hell of a lot. When after working a weekend dealing with nonstop activity at the schoolhouse. Maybe when I was younger, it would
Yeah.
be no thing, but now it's like I'm just trying to get my head on right for Monday because
You're trying to keep up now, huh?
yeah, it's just it's just never ending, and it's always something at the end of the day. Your day could be going good, 2:15, 2:20, crisis just break out or something. It just the nature of it, but I enjoy it for the most part overall. But it's just weekends. I'm just trying to relax.
Yeah,
Ain't
honestly.
trying to do much.
When it's funny when people ask me how my day is going. I'm at work. I tell them it's a standard response now. It might sound canned, but I tell them I'll let you know at 7 o'clock. They say why 7? I said because then the shift is over. All you never know what can happen between the time they ask and 7 o'clock. I mean, stuff just jumps off so quickly, man. It's just like you go from relax one moment to full bore the next. So I never take anything for granted until after it's over.
Yeah, and that's the way it is. Like a lot of people, they'll say, "How's your day going?" You just never know. Fine, so far so good. No complaints, but that can change
Mhm.
from minute to minute. So that's just how it is, and it doesn't even have to be kids all the time. It could be teachers. It
Mhm.
could be a parent coming in. It could be this irate phone call, or so that's just it. The nature of the beast. But any old ways,
I want
we
to
go.
I want to jump on that which because my sister called, ironically enough, my sister called me earlier, and she works in the school system as well. And it was maybe 5 minutes to go time, and kids were acting a fool. She's like, "I don't want this principal down here yelling at me. Y'all need to go where you belong." And I'm like, "Isn't it almost go time?" She's like, "Yeah, but they're acting up right now." And I'm like, "Yeah, enjoy that school job. I'm good."
They definitely,
Good stuff, man. Good
they
stuff.
definitely like to cut a fool toward the end. They got a lot of plan. What was interesting today is, being at the middle school level, we had the high school kids come and a few of the high school kids came to let them know what high school is about and giving them some kind of heads up and things they should do and things they shouldn't do. So it's always funny when I done seen so many kids in my years come through. Then a few of them came up to me and like, "What's up, Mr. Glover?" And I'm like looking up, like, damn, dude. I'm like, damn, what's your name again? Like, oh man, Josh. And I was like, dude, like you got big, dude. Like dude, you used to kill me, man. Like the stuff you like, oh man, I was a good kid. Like, dude, whatever, man. And it's just the maturity that you see in them, and and then some of them start playing sports, and then you just think of them in sixth, seventh, and eighth, but now they're like in 11th or 12th grade, and you like, okay, all right.
Panned
So
out.
yeah, then one of the guys was like, I I said, "What you trying to do?" He was like, "Oh, I'm going into like journalism and sports broadcasting." He's like, "Man, I'm about to be the next Stephen A. Smith." I said, "All right,
Yeah,
okay, man."
lofty goal. And if he
Yeah,
can reach it, man, more power to him. There's nothing wrong with setting your goals that lofty, man.
so that was cool seeing them, and it's and it's crazy. Like one of the teachers got upset because she couldn't remember a kid's name, and I'm like, we had so many kids come through here, but it's also great that when they remember you and they
Hmm.
remember our names and stuff like that, so that lets you know you made some type of impact,
Yeah.
and not that they wasn't impactful, but like I said, some of them, you just so many come through. That's like a revolving door in and out. So you don't remember all the names, but once they tell you their name, you're like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So that was, like I said, that was cool.
It's funny because I remember doing security at the casino, and I saw my electronics teacher, and he called off the bat who I was, and it's always funny how that works out because you never know who you're going to remember and for what reason. I mean, I see my Mr. Brundage, old Niagara Falls High School basketball coach, old guidance counselor when I was I believe when I was in middle school. We're talking 35, almost 40 years ago. And he remembers, so some people, you leave an impression on it, and sometimes you're impressed upon it. In either way, it's always a good thing.
Yeah, and that reminds me, like when I come across some of my old Brian and Stratton folks from the 1990s, and they're like, "Oh my God, haven't seen you in years." Like when we run into each other, like even on social media, and then I tell them what their major was, and they were like, "How the how the fuck you remember that?" And I was like, "Listen, when you go through that stuff day by day, looking at schedules and mapping out your courses that you got to take, you remember that stuff just stays with you."
Mm-hmm.
So most of them I remember what major that they took just by their names and just going through that stuff day after day after day. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, we don't want to bore you with those things. We like to start off a little light, whatever, and then now it's time for the heavyweight stuff. So women, modesty, relationships in their simps. Herb, talk to me about what does all that mean?
Man, it's a multi-layered discussion. We talked last week. We talked about the whole Sierra incident, and a lot of women, and understandably so, women don't want to feel as if they're being policed. In terms of their look, their attire. They feel especially once they hit adulthood, they feel they should be able to wear what they want. And to a man, go ahead by all means, wear what you want. But there's always either a backlash or a fine line that needs to be maintained. Because I think what a lot of women don't consider is this, or one of the things anyway, and I'll get to the others in a moment, is they don't consider the impact that what they wear could potentially have on their female children. And what I mean by that is this: if a mother dresses a certain way and she has impression of her daughters, especially as they begin to hit puberty, they will assume, whether it's incorrectly or correctly, that that is acceptable wear. I believe I know most schools have a dress code. I know when I went, you guys, never mind females, couldn't wear. We had what they called jams, and jams were shorts that would come to your knees. We couldn't wear anything that didn't come to our knees. Never mind females. And that was because they wanted to teach modesty. They didn't want young boys being distracted. They didn't want girls being a distraction. A lot of people say, well, it's not the woman's fault if young boys can't control themselves. And you know what? It's a valid point. But in the same breath, if an individual understands what incites another, then why would an individual want to push that envelope other than for reaction? Some women like that. They feel it's a sense of power. They feeling um, empowered to do that. Well, look what I can do by doing this. Yeah, but is that what you really want to do? Do you really want to bring that kind of energy and those kind of knuckleheads into your sphere? Because
Attention
when you
seeking.
say it again,
Attention seeking.
yes. And the thing about that is they're at the age where they don't realize that that can ultimately lead to bad things.
Hmm.
So when you start down that slope and they get to a certain point, they don't think they need to be corrected or at least shown a different way. They say, well, I can do what I want to. And then we always hear the famous line, you ain't my daddy. Well, let me ask you this question. Do you know who your daddy is? And all of a sudden now they want to get upset because you say, look, I've never seen you around an older man. I've never seen your mother with a man. I've never seen your mother with anybody that could actually tell her anything in terms of how to behave. And that's when we start to get into the modesty aspect of things. You say, okay, look, you can dress this way. But if I can't instruct you on how to dress, then I certainly can't instruct you on how to behave. And if I'm with you and we're in a public setting and I can't address those two things, I could be potentially put in a situation to where I might suffer some physical harm because some guys are gonna come up and you go. Matter of fact, I'll tell a story. I was in me, my two brothers, one younger, one older, and a really, really good family friend of my older brothers. We were going down to Albany to celebrate New Year's. We're in a nightclub where my brother's bouncing at. Now, there's about 10 feet between me and the woman that's dancing on the rails. And she makes her way down and she's bumping into me. And I look at her, I'm like, yo, you got all that room down there. Why don't you go down there and dance? I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to enjoy myself, relax. I'm here chilling with my family. I don't want no issues. You know what her response was? You should be glad that I'm bumping into you.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I'm just like, yo, where do you get the audacity to say something like that?
Mm.
So the guy she with, and I'm going to assume it's her boyfriend, comes down. He says something to me. I said, look, I said, her, I won't do nothing to you. I'll knock you clean the fuck out. And then afterwards, I'm gonna go tell my brother who's a bouncer here. We're gonna have your asses tossed up out of here. Now, I consider myself to be a nonviolent person, but I don't want to be harassed. And I certainly don't want to be harangued by a female just because she thinks she has the ability to do those type of things. And those are the type of situations that a lot of women will put men in because they don't care. I'm not saying all women, I'm saying the women that engage in this kind of behavior. So when you have a woman that wants to be immodest, she doesn't want to be instructed. The one thing that leads to is confrontations, and most of those confrontations are unnecessary, which leads to another thing. I saw this on Facebook about an hour or so ago, and a guy was saying that anytime there's a situation where a man is confronting a female, that other guys should jump in. And I'm thinking, why? How do we know that that woman hasn't been told multiple times by her boyfriend or husband that what she's doing in her conduct is detrimental to them both? Because if her boyfriend's 5'7", 160 pounds, and a guy that's 6'2", 235 walks up and grabs her ass because she's wearing something revealing, you really want him to get into a fight to save your honor when your honor should have been in honor his request to dress more appropriately? And I think that's one of the things that a lot of women don't really concern themselves about, because rarely are they going to fight somebody for grabbing their behind, regardless of what they're wearing, regardless of where they are. So these things are always going through a man's mind, especially if he has a woman that's very physically attractive, aka CF. Most men can't protect their women from situations like that by putting her in a home or lifestyle that keeps her from that element. And that element is always, it's ubiquitous. It's always around us.
Let me read
Yeah.
Dedrick's comment. He said males react to stimuli that is presented. Why would you dangle meat over an alligator pit? Then when there are alligators jumping and snapping, you then say they should have more self control. What kind of sense does that make? Mm.
I agree with
But
literally, honestly, that's why I'm quiet because you guys are right. Honestly, these women who do that, they are looking for attention, and however they choose to get it, they choose to get it. So it's basically what they have learned, whether it's through family, whether it's through television, social media. Everyone wants to be this lure or this thing that everybody wants. So in this day and age, morals, values, most of that is gone, except for our age group is gone. And then the ones that are in our age group that do these things, they just grew up, loose like they learned, and a lot of that is through childhood or um like Herb said, it's could be from the examples of a parent, or whatever the situation is. People want to be desired, so a lot of women will go as far as they can to be
Mhm.
desired and then get used, and then they want to build up those numbers, right? So I'm gonna let that go.
So I got a thought what you had said back earlier when you said about women wearing revealing clothes, but this not even dealing with them so much wearing revealing clothes. I can remember, growing up, and I'm speaking on the male perspective, the boy's perspective.
mhm.
When someone had, like, quote unquote, what you would call a fine mother, and you knew that people would be checking out your mother, and it kind of made people feel, you feel uncomfortable,
Yeah.
especially if your mother was shapely, and you would hear stuff like that, whether it's your mother, aunts, anybody like in your family. They, little, as my grandmother would say, little mannish ass boys, whatever, would be like 9, 10 years old, talking about what they'd tear up. Oh man, I tear that up, whatever. Like, dude, really? Like, but stuff like that made would make boys feel like a little uncomfortable. Like, okay,
Yeah.
if I got to go to school with my, it's parent teacher conference or something at the school, I know they are going to be checking out my mother or whatever the case is. But then on the other hand, let's be real. Let's be real. Some people, some mothers to some people, maybe gruesome looking. And then the kid is still kind of embarrassed. Like, Ma, don't drop me off in front of the school and you go find a parking spot. And I think this is a game, but this is for real. This is what happened. Or especially when you get older and they don't want the kids, they don't, and we talked about this before, they don't want their peers to be like, is that your grandmother? Because their mothers may be young, young, and then you may have a parent that had you later on. So they're asking questions like, damn, your mother old as hell, or whatever the case is. And they say stuff like that. So kids will say, just drop me off right here, park the car, and then meet me in the auditorium or
Wow.
whatever the case is, because they don't want to get that ridicule either. So this is real
Wow.
stuff that really happens.
Yeah. It really is. And I think uh, uh, I'll say that I'll say it in this way. I could not imagine me producing a child at my age. I don't know what in the hell I would do, which is why I'm very, very picky about who I deal with. But I said that to say this: I could understand if my son or daughter is like, look, I don't want you around my kids. They're gonna be asking all these kind of questions. Your father's losing his hair. He's overweight. It's a peer pressure thing, and for a lot of parents who may have aged out of certain behaviors or aged into certain behaviors. That's not a cool thing. It's not cool to see your mother come to pick you up with a bonnet on. It's not cool to see your mother come out dressed like she just rolled out of bed and picking you up, because they got to deal with that. You don't, they have to. So kids have enough to deal with without their parents adding to the burden of that peer pressure. So I think anything that a parent can do to ease a child's transition, especially once a child starts to get into middle school, and that seems to be that transition age, because once a kid gets into high school, especially once they get past that freshman year, if they make it to the sophomore year, they're okay. They're usually adjusted enough to be able to say, "Hey, look, man, that's my mother's. I can't tell her nothing. Nobody can tell her nothing. She does what she wants to. I just bear with it. I got a couple more years till I'm out of my parents' house. I go to college. I move out on my own. I don't have to deal with it."
But you
And the
know what
thing
is interesting? Because when I was dealing with the youths at Emerson, a lot of the parents came up there like totally dressed like they rolled out of bed in the middle of the day. And a lot of times when I would see that, it would baffle me because the same attitude that child would have, is the same attitude that that parent has, even to another level. So, you know, while I was there trying to mentor and trying to assist in their growth and all this wonderfulness, it was just interesting when you would see the result of where they had to come out of. And a lot of them want different. So I was there to help them get that difference by the time they graduated. So that, you know, but you're right, the way these parents, come up at the school and, you know, the thing about the age difference in the parents and the boys not wanting to be stigmatized in a way, that one was new to me, David. So thanks for sharing that one.
yeah, it's a lot of stuff that go with it, and then you have you have the effect where sometimes, and this was from a female student, that she thinks she's cute, and so automatically she's gonna think her mother's cute. So one day we were in the hallway, and she like, "Mr. Glover, remember you came in the office that day? Was you checking out my mother?" What? I'm like, I don't even know what your mother looked like. I was like, I don't even know what she looks like. And then she's like, well, you looked her way, whatever. And I said, I probably just looked because when I come in there, you see people sitting. I said, but trust me, I wasn't checking her out because I don't remember one thing about her. And she's like, you know who my mother is? We was in your office before. And I'm like, you know how many people, parents come to my office? So she was dead set this. She's like, well, whatever. Anyways, you're not her type, anyways. And I'm like,
Ooh,
okay,
ooh,
like okay,
ooh,
that's fine.
okay.
Then
and and if people
again,
don't, yeah, go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
you when you talk about revealing um stuff that they wear, you have those parents that come up. And I remember when I worked at a high school, my secretary, before she got in, called me on the phone. She was like, "Oh, you better get ready to buckle down because I don't know where this parent thinks she was coming, but the shit she got on, you better be able to control your eyes or something." And I'm like, okay, like okay. Then when she came in there, I'm like, okay, now I see what she's talking about. And she was with her daughter, and I wasn't trying to look at her. And then the parent like, Mr. Glover, I think it's rude that you don't make eye contact with me. And I'm like, I came up with some BS. I'm like, oh, I was taught kind of not to look a woman in her eyes like that. And then she was like, uh-huh. And then the kid was like, he do not have to look at you, mom. He does not have to look at you. Like you need to get it together. And then she was like, I'm just saying, I think it's rude that I'm talking and he ain't trying to make um eye contact. So obviously after, and she did all types of stuff like, oh, she got something on her shirt and all of this stuff. And I'm still like, I'm not falling for this. And then after she left, my secretary was like, how did you handle So how did you handle that with her titties all over your desk? And then I'm like, I was like, so luckily her daughter kind of, was there to kind of like, mom, chill out, whatever. But
And
I
that's
need to
crazy
add
stuff
to
that
that.
happened.
She came
Say
with a
that.
game plan. I
Mm,
said I needed to add to that. I said she came with a game plan.
mm,
And no one does that unless they are literally looking to entice and looking to sway a person their way or a male their way. Since she knew she was coming to see you, she had to dress the part to make sure that she was able to sway whatever the conversation is going to be. And that's a sad, sad, sad truth.
well, the thing about it is this though. It serves a couple different things. One you just mentioned, which is to sway opinion or lessen punishment if that's what's going to come. The other thing, and the thing that a lot of people don't really consider, is she might be looking for a mate.
Mhm.
Now, women, contrary to what a lot of men might believe, women are not stupid.
Not at all.
If a woman's going to be looking for an upwardly mobile, stable person, we're better to find one than at a school. We
What?
always talk about we always talk about where to meet eligible people at. Guidance counselor in the school, you don't think that's a prime target for a woman?
It is, but I hear you. I hear you because I see it. I hear you.
Yeah.
I just
And, and,
try to
and
overlook it because I think it's just ugly. You can't come in there looking like you coming off the street hooking or you just came out of the club. But I see it, especially in the younger generation now. It's like they really look like they're going to a club or coming from a club or whatever when they come drop their kids off or pick their kids up.
and to that, we are seeing schools now they're implementing policies for prom attire. This is what I
Oh
spoke about
yeah.
earlier when I talked about who the young girls are learning how to dress from. And people are saying that it's an infringement upon the ability of the girls to wear what they want to. Make no mistake about it. Whether people want to believe it or not, a prom is a school function. I don't care how
Mhm.
you look at it. I don't care what you want to believe. It's a school function. And they have every right to mandate the dress. For a lot of these females, they may never get married. So for them, the prom is going to be the pinnacle of what they get to look like in front of their peers, in front of people that
Mhm.
they consider their equals. And the unfortunate part about that is this, and I'm going to link Christine's comment to that. If they don't have a father or a trustworthy male that says, hey, look, you can wear something that makes you look physically attractive without looking like a harlot, they're going to go for the harlot look because that's going to get the most eyes. And what Christine says is this: my husband used to enjoy picking out my outfits. He had a great eye for style. He also understood that I'm not into certain types of dressing to start out with. Most young girls have no idea what their style of dress is just before the simple fact that they're mimicking what they see. So if they're watching R&B videos, rap videos, hip hop videos, they're on Instagram, Facebook. What do you think they're looking at? They're not looking at the woman who's going to just burn and buy clothes. They're not looking at women Nine West as a shoe store, but they're not looking at women who's going to Ann Taylor to buy clothes. That's not what they're looking at because that's not what draws the eyes. So there goes your modesty, and it starts at a very young age. And when these girls are impacted like that and they get to be in their mid 20s, you can forget trying to instill some modesty in them because they don't think they have to. And that creates a situation that's untenable because if they meet a man who has certain demands and he's in a certain position in life where he needs his plus one to dress appropriately, she's not going to have a clue. I remember years ago meeting this female, through Facebook, and I asked her. We were messaging back and forth, and I asked her, "Do you wear dresses?" She says, "Yes, I do." I said, "Send me some pictures of you in dresses." The pictures she sent, not for me. I said, "You don't have anything that actually covers you?" No, like this. And I sent her a couple of pictures. Oh, I don't wear that kind of stuff. I was like, okay. Yeah. No can do. No can do. And I tell guys all the time, if you want to know what kind of woman you're dealing with, search her social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, I think Snapchat, or whatever it is. And I said, don't just look at what she wears. If she's in pictures with other people, free game for you fellas. If she's in pictures with other women, look at what they are wearing, because she's going to dress to mimic them.
Not true in all instances. I can say that for myself.
You're correct, but that's why I said her friends. And you'll see multiple pictures. I'm not saying just one picture. I'm saying look at all her social media if you can, or certainly more than one or two pictures, at least 2 or 3 dozen pictures. If she's always taking pictures with people, she'll tell you. She will tell you what she's comfortable in dressing. If you don't see her dressing in two-piece suits, black slacks, leggings all the time, she's letting you know she doesn't dress well. So forget taking her to a reasonable formal event. She's not going to have anything to wear. And if you want her to wear something that you picked out, it's going to be a fight. Because she's not going to say, hey, look, I don't look attractive in that. Well, you have no idea what you look attractive in to other people because you've never worn it. So how do you get a woman that's accustomed to dressing immodestly to dress modestly? If she's accustomed to wearing clothes that are so tight that she can't put her hand in the front pocket, how do you get her to wear a pair of slacks that might be a size bigger so she's comfortable? How do you get her to wear a button-up blouse that covers her bosom and a suit coat? How do you get her to wear a full-length dress and a pair of boots so when you go out in the winter, she actually has some stable footwear so she doesn't have to worry about falling? These are all the things that go into modest dressing. Tell her, hey, look, I know you want to wear heels, but go get a pair of flats so you can walk on this uneven concrete. And then when you get inside, you can put them heels on. You can look like that. No, I want to look good going in. Really?
Well, they do have shoes today that, speaking from a woman's standpoint, that they are heels and they are for outside wear, just fashion boots for, not even boots, but fashion heels. They have some with sneaker heels. Um, so there's a lot of changes out there now. So you can dress however, but you end up in, being stable. It's just all about just finding the right wear and making sure that you're comfortable, safe in it, you know, and look proper.
Yeah, for the women that are willing to do that, fantastic. But we have a segment of women, doesn't matter what their ethnicity is, that just outright refuse to do it. And it seems to be that's who a lot of men are encountering. And as opposed to just saying, you know what, it's going to be a no go, they end up in a fight. So already the night is ruined, and you haven't even went anywhere. You got to fight to get her to wear something that's modest, that covers her. You got to fight to get her to wear some appropriate footwear that's not going to end up in her with a sprained ankle or some type of fracture or even a break. Which breaks are actually better than fractures, but all of that, and it sullens the mood. It just
So
does.
why would anybody want to go through dealing with a person that's going to be so opposite of what they should
because
have?
because some men end up in relationships with these women because they don't thoroughly vet them. some men get so attached, especially, and this is something else that a lot of people really don't think that happens. For some men, they get attached after sex because the sex is so good to them. So they don't want to walk away from that, so they fight to keep it. And women that are astute enough to know that they got that man trapped, what we used to call open, they will use that.
That's
And
why
they will
sex
tell them,
before marriage is no good.
well, it's not even that.
It
You,
really is.
well, the reason why I say that is this: if you take a man, if you take a man that's a virgin and you put him with a woman that can sexually exploit him, marriage means absolutely nothing because he don't want to end the marriage, and she knows that. That's what we call being whipped. And you get some men that are truly whipped, so they're stuck there, and you see them all looking, making themselves look smaller, unappealing, disinterested, because they got a woman that they can't say anything to. I'd say control, but that seems to throw a lot of people into a tizzy. So I'm not even going to use the phrase. But they can't even reason with her. The first thing
Mm.
they'll say, like I said earlier, you ain't my daddy. I don't have to listen to you. Who you think I am?
I got
That
like 2 or 3 points on what y'all.
go ahead,
Yeah.
cause please
One,
jump right in.
first of all, Jackie,
Okay.
ain't nobody checking for no sex before marriage.
Well, well, that's me. That's
Yeah,
just me.
ain't
That's
nobody
me.
checking for that.
That's me. I'm sorry. That's me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Number two, again, when you know Herb, when you were saying about these women wearing this and that, and and some of them are just rudely that, but I would think that you would kind of study your man, KYP, know your personnel,
Mhm.
and know like, okay, he's casual, he's conservative, he's kind of low key. He don't want all that heat. He don't want all that smoke. So I need to realize who I'm with, and I don't want to do anything to embarrass him or having him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes you got to think about your other half. It's just simple. Sometimes you have to do that. Whether you're a guy and you're kind of rambunctious and you out, you like throwing them back, and then you like to be up in other women's faces and talking and cracking jokes, and you know that your lady is kind of low key. She's socialized, but she's not. She's kind of mild mannered, and now you out there being a total asshole. It's a time and place for everything. That's when you might have to be a little reserved that day. You may get some backlash after that, like, oh, you was on a leash, you wasn't even your normal self because you was with your lady or whatever the case is. But that's okay, because
Yeah,
what's more important,
right.
her feelings or your coworkers or your homeboys making comments or whatever the case is, homegirls making comments. So sometimes you just have to simply think about your other half. So that was two things. And then the other thing is, and, I've been making posts about my, what is it, D Gloves beauty salon at my school, where the young ladies been coming in, little girls doing their hair. And sometimes I get it because I understand the backlash that goes on all day when they talking about each other's hair. She got on a wig. Her. I don't even know I can't even think of all the little things that girls and women say about somebody's weave and this and that. So you hear this stuff. So they come in. Well, the first time they actually snuck in, and I was out in the hallway, and they went in there, but I didn't know because I'm not their actual counselor. I have the eighth graders, and these are seventh graders, but they like to come see me. So I guess they seen that my door was cracked, so they went in there. Then when I came in there, and I'm like, Okay, they got curling irons and
Damn.
uh, uh
You better
flat
know it. They come equipped.
flat irons and all types of stuff. And I'm
That's
like,
right. Girls come equipped.
yeah, I'm like, yo, like y'all got this stuff and it's smoking in here. Y'all about to give me like just give us a few minutes, Mr. Glover. Just give us a few minutes, whatever. And they curling their hair and doing all of that stuff. And then I'm like, I'm messing with them like, and y'all got grease in it. It's like this is not grease, whatever. It's edge control remove. I don't know what all the stuff they were saying. I said, y'all need to get y'all some blue magic or sulfate messing with them. And but I allowed them to do it because now other people may not. They like you should have did it at home and all that stuff. But I know where it can lead to down the road, especially if you're a young lady who the kind of popular, the boys like you and your hair is jacked up. You're probably gonna get ridiculed all day, and that's
Yeah.
gonna set them off, and it's gonna all come back to me anyways. So I might as well let them rectify the issue. Take that 10, 15 minutes to get right. Now, what was funny because they said they were in the bathroom, and one of the Caucasian teachers came in there, and she was like, "I should have did that at home or did it the night before and all that." And they kind of argue back like, "You don't understand. You're not our color. You don't understand our culture." And she kind of, you know, went went with her went with her premise on what she thought instead of saying, "Damn, I don't know. I don't know what this mean. How much this means to them." So I don't know. Maybe because and people say, "Oh, you just a softy." You just no, because like I said, I know that the stuff is gonna come back to me, so I try to prevent it. So me, if I was that teacher, I probably would say, "Listen, y'all got 5 minutes to get right. Y'all got 5 minutes, and then after that, or reasonable, y'all got 10 minutes. Then after that, y'all need to go to class because again, they don't deal with the day to day stuff that I deal with on a regular basis. So that's why. So a lot of people, when I post in there, like, "Oh man, you soft. They didn't took over your office again and all that." I'd get a kick out of them. I'm cracking jokes the whole time while they sitting there doing it. Just, just having fun.
And I think that underscores a larger issue to which people really don't consider. One is having a place, especially as a young minority female, that you feel protected and understood. And that's a testament to you in and of yourself, in and of what you do there. That's an extension of being a counselor, is to provide that atmosphere. Because let's face it, most of these kids are not getting that at home. So they don't have a male figure, whether it's an uncle, a much older brother, or a father that says, "Hey, look, you need to get these things done before you go to bed, or wake up early enough to get this stuff done. So when you get to school, you're put together so you can go there and get an education." Because let's face it now, women have all kinds of shortcuts that they can use, whether it's synthetic hair, makeup, eyelashes. I talked about Instagram and Facebook and all social media earlier. These females are running through a litany of filters, all in order to make themselves appear more attractive. And it's unfortunate that a lot of women don't realize that if they set aside 10, 15 minutes a day doing certain things, it makes maintaining their attractiveness a little bit easier. I'm not going to say easy, a little bit easier. And this is how that impacts boys.
But hold it before you jump on that point, Herb. It goes back to the old show we had years ago about women taking time to make sure that their daughter's hair is set
Mhm.
for a few days.
Mhm.
Like let's on Saturday nights, Sundays, or whatever the case is, let's sit down, make sure you right. Make
Right.
sure you hairdo right. Well, that's a thing in the past, and I know some of the arguments always was, well, we work two jobs, we don't have time for this and that. That's why weave and wigs and all that. I'm sorry, a little kid shouldn't be wearing no damn wig
Right.
unless unless she got some, alopecia, some type of medical condition. But a little kid shouldn't be throwing on no damn wig. I'm not checking for that, whatever. And I don't really check for it that. And I know, again, y'all gonna say, well, sometimes it's convenient. I ain't really checking for a, a woman to have her hair down to her ass one day, and then the next day is different. Like, uh, I'm about consistency, and that's just me. I ain't. I'm not for all that.
Yeah, and the thing about that is when it comes to the young men who are in that same situation as a young female, they have no idea what an attractive woman is naturally. So you get all these boys who start to grow up into manhood, and when they encounter a natural woman, because it's so foreign to them, they reject it. This is why we hear a lot of black women say, well, they don't want that because they don't know about it. When we grew up in the 1970s, afros were the rage. You might have had some people with uh um the what's the name, the Jerry curls, but that wasn't a whole lot of people. I know there's the movie Coming to America had a had a spot on it which the family got it from the couch and you saw the Jerry curl stains on the back of the couch. But that wasn't everybody. You had some fellas that got their hair permed. That wasn't everybody. The rank and file black person had an afro. Some of the women, some of the younger women got their hair did with a hot curl. Oh, I'm sorry, with a curling iron or a straightening comb. But that was the extent of having your hair done in a certain way. So, like David said, your mother would sit down there Sunday afternoon after church or whatever the case was. You got the scalp greased. That was bonding time. She talked to you about certain things. That was where you learned how to dress modestly. Them days are gone. So the grandmother that was in her 50s, 60s has been replaced by the grandmother that's in her 30s and 40s. Now people will say, what's wrong with that? Nothing if she has the information to give to the daughter. But chances are in our 40s, we don't have that life lived experience that our grandparents had. So we can't sit down and talk to the kids about certain things. Just simply put, we haven't experienced them. So how can I, at 40, tell my 12-year-old son what to look for if I've only been a single father. I've never been married. I've never been in a committed relationship more than 2 or 3 years. We didn't plan to have you. You just happened because we were having sex. See, we don't realize how modesty comes in and plays a role in relationships. So if we're just acting upon lust and we hop into bed with somebody, no plans, no cares, and all of a sudden we got a kid, what is our plan? What do we teach this kid? And furthermore, how do we raise this kid? And then we wonder why our communities are so dysfunctional. Why our young men have their pants off of their behinds. Pants are 3 sizes too small. They couldn't run to save their life. If they were getting chased by a dog, they might as well get bit. They might as well just lay down and just cover their head and just take the bites. We talk about female modesty, but in turn, that's where that plays out for men, because they're selecting these women that look like what their mothers did when they were kids. And then people will say, well, the men need to pick better. What was their template to learn from? I know my mother didn't dress like that. So when it came to certain things, I said, well, my mother never dressed like that. My aunt sure as hell didn't dress like that. My aunt was married. So there were certain things that I was seeing in a woman. I was just like, oh, no, thank you. I don't want any parts of that. And people, man, she looked good. I'm like, yeah, she might look good, but is she good for me? And that's the thing a lot of these young boys are getting caught up in. Like you talked about earlier, Jack. Why do these boys choose that? Because they don't know no better. And people want to hold them responsible. I'm like, yeah, hold them responsible for what? For never being taught, for never being shown that, hey, if that's a female you're going to bed down with for a night, okay, but just make sure one thing, you don't get her pregnant. Because the same way she looks now is the same way she's going to behave. And people will say, that's not true. I'll guarantee you, you will rarely see a woman who's dressed modestly behave like she doesn't have an upbringing. The two are incongruent. Now, conversely, you show me a female who's dressed immodestly, rarely will she behave like she has class. The two are incongruent. They don't cross. Oil and water don't mix it. And that's for a particular reason. I don't say this to be an asshole. I don't say this to be flippant. But you can tell a whole lot about a woman, her upbringing, and her propensity to misbehave by the way she dresses.
There's a lot. So it's so much to it, and that's why you have to break it down and have these conversations, which sometimes are not being had. So again, like Herb said, that's why sometimes we wonder why our community is in disarray because we not even we not even having these basic conversations. We just think it's a natural progression that that you learn these things without actually having conversations like this. It's stuff that needs to be had. And I know even for as kids, they because the world we live in, they don't take heed to stories and things. Not all of them. Some of them enjoy it. I always enjoyed listening to older people tell stories. And those stories became my stories because I'm like, wow, that was interesting. You tie connections to those stories and life lessons. But these kids, nobody cared about happened with back in the days. This teacher always telling stories or this and that. You try to explain why, but they're not hearing it. So we have so much work to do. But what I want to get into is that simping part about these simps before we could get into segment two because simps I was reading some article and it was saying that, that word is trending and it shouldn't be because you have guys that's showing respect and love for women, and then you have other guys that's calling them simps, and it shouldn't be. But then the adverse effect of it is, are they really doing that, or is it a game of manipulation for them? For these simps because they may have low self-esteem. Nobody may not be knocking on at their door on a regular basis. So now they feel like, man, I gotta wine and dine her, do this and do that. And you're doing all that and she's still sleeping with somebody else. But you spending and spending and willing to go to bat for everything. And that's why I always say you gotta have a balance between a nice guy and a jackass.
Yeah.
You got to. And I know people like, oh no, you shouldn't. But that's just I just think that's the way that you protect yourself, not only in relationships, just in everyday life, work or whatever the case is. And once people realize, well, he has his ways, but he's still a nice guy. They know how to handle you. But if you come off the wrong way, too nice and this and that, people take advantage of that stuff.
I could definitely testify to that. Now, to the question you're asking, who is the number one protector of immodest women? Men. Why? Because these men want to see him in that situation. Men, there's nothing greater for a man than a morally compromised woman. Why? Because he gets to take advantage of her. He doesn't have to put in any work. He can always continue to down her more. Well, look, nobody's gonna mess with you. You got two kids by two different men. You 23. You got no outlook. You might as well go ahead and give it up. Who wants you anyway? That's one way that a lot of men operate. Number two, some men will profusely heap praise upon a woman he know isn't worthy of it. And why do I say she's not worthy of it? Because women know for the most part. They know if they're quality women. She doesn't have to be told. She knows she's out here ripping and running the streets, can't hold a job down, living with whoever, and she don't care. Why? Because she can always attract a man. She can always get sex when she wants to. And for most women, that's easy. Getting sex for a woman is much, much easier than it is for a man. For a man, you got to put in some type of work, unless you're just naturally blessed in that particular region. I don't know a whole lot of men that are. I've hung out with one or two that were, but that's a uh, short, um, short lifespan for most men. You still gonna have to come with something for most women to even consider them having sex with you. Whether they like it or not is a different story, but you still got to come with something that they deem worthy of giving themselves up with. So this is why we talk about particular men, and in this regard, simps, because they enable women to misbehave. They're consistently saying, "Hey, look, leave her alone. She can do what she wants to. You ain't her daddy. You ain't married to her. You can't tell her what to do." And then we wonder why we get women dancing on tables in nightclubs. And I'm referencing the situation that happened in Dallas a few years ago when the brother had a nice place and women were up on the tables twerking.
Hmm.
Who do you think defends that behavior? It's not the righteous man. It's not the upstanding man. It's the man who thinks that that behavior is okay. So when we talk about simps, we're not talking about the men that actually are cordial to women, who treat women who are respectable with respect. We're talking about a group of men who are sycophants to women who have not earned that kind of care, treatment, and discernment. So when
So
you start looking at things, you start breaking them down. You say, well, wait a minute. This chick is on Instagram showing everything. And these guys are paying her. They treat her like royalty. They're willing to take her out. Well, there's your simp. She hasn't done anything to earn it other than be a female who dresses scantily, other than be a female who dangles, shout out to Alan Roger Curry, the possibility of sex. So that man is chasing an illusion that that female is put out there, knowing he's never going to see any parts of the inside of that particular woman's underwear. Who do you think supports these females on OnlyFans? These women making upwards of 6, 7 figures. It ain't the men that's out here getting it in. It's the men that aren't. So,
so let
so
me ask you this.
yeah,
So back in the days, and still today, would you say the dope boys and stuff, were they simps?
D boys are a little different. The only reason D boys are a little different was because the way they went about doing things. Because depending on the age demographic of the D boys,
Well, we know they were tricks. So shit.
Number one, yes, number one. But the women that they were choosing to do things with were the highly sought after women. And I had a conversation with my brother earlier about this. Shout out to him. Everybody chases the popular people in high school. So whether it was the jock or the most attractive female, everybody wanted that individual. Not everybody didn't qualify.
Not everybody. I was not a part of that group.
What? No. Understand what I mean when I say that. Everybody wanted the attractive person. I just use those two because they happen to be the two most popular groups in school. The jocks for the females, the attractive women for the males. I don't know anybody that wanted to date the second tier female in high school. That's just a high school I went to. Everybody was after the female they thought that looked the best. Now, that wasn't the same for everyone. Some females thought some other females looked, some guys thought some other females looked better. Some women thought, hey, look, he may not be the top jock, but he's a jock. At least I got one. And that was the mindset that was pervasive for us when we were in high school. Now, me, I was different. I hook up with the star basketball players because I knew most of them. But I never really chased after the most attractive female in the school because I knew I couldn't land her. I was never that dude that was high fashion. I worked. Matter of fact, when I dropped out of high school and came back, I was working. So I was on the tail end of what most guys would be considered, to be the apex male. I was never that guy, but I was able to date females that were reasonably attractive. They just weren't the upper echelon of females. So, like Dave said, when you get those D boys in there, they're like the curve. They're like the students who destroy the curve in college. You got to compete with them. Oh, you forget about it. You ain't got a chance. So you sitting there like the kid on Christmas Day with no toys. you, you ain't got no wins.
See,
So,
yeah, I would counter that because I remember having conversations with some of them, and we would be on the dark side on Highland Avenue, and when I was in college, and I would tell them like, "Listen, y'all got cars, y'all got money," and I would say to them, I could still pull the same females. I don't even have a car. I could be on the damn bike. You know why? Because I got conversation.
Yeah.
They couldn't really say anything. So then all of a sudden it was like an implode of them wanting to get these college girls because I brought them from Niagara University out to 3Ms, to the Monte Carlo and all of that stuff. So they like, damn, who is that? Or whatever the case is. So things changed up with a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the great equalizer. But unfortunately, a lot of guys don't understand that. They don't understand that once you graduate high school, that's when there's a dynamic shift. And those women aren't going to deal with that kind of man because there's no future. Now, being that there's no future, you have the upper hand. So the women would have a brain. They'll say, okay, he's in college. He's going somewhere. Just like I said earlier, with the mother that was draping herself over the desk. They know this dude's gonna make something of himself. So I don't want the dude that has that low of a ceiling. No 401k, no job. He get knocked one day for selling. He's gonna be calling me to put money on his books. I don't want that kind of life. It's funny. It reminds me of when I'll say this to say this. When I started hanging out at Buff State. Now, I told this before. I didn't go to school immediately after I graduated high school. I went the following year. So when I was hanging out with Buff State, I was actually dealing with some of the females who were actually enrolled at the school. Happened to deal with an upperclassman. She was a junior. We were about the same age. I happened because I was older when I graduated high school. I was 20. So in terms of maturity, we were on the same level. But of course, academically, we were nowhere near each other. It wasn't that I was an idiot. She was just an upperclassman. She's 80, 90 credits. I'm sorry, about 70, 80 credits. She's a year away from graduation. Ultimately, she ended up getting pregnant by some inner city cat. I was blown away, completely blown away. When I found out, it made absolutely no sense. I said, here we are. This female has the world in front of her, reasonably attractive female. I think she's from Rochester. And she got knocked up by this dude who had nothing going for him.
Oh, he didn't even go to Buff State.
Didn't go to school.
Oh, wow.
Didn't go to Buff State. Didn't go to Canisius.
She met him
didn't
at the
go to
club.
UD.
Huh?
I don't know where she met him at. I have no idea. I remember, going over to her house, to her apartment, I should say, not to denigrate her. And I'm not gonna mention her name so nobody asks. You already know my NDAs are rock solid. But I was disappointed. I was really disappointed because I saw this female and I saw where she could go. And I saw the possibilities for her. And I'm thinking, how do you let yourself get caught up with a dude that has nothing going for him? Nothing. It was sad. It really was. So when we talk about templates, simps, modesty, relationships, this is why it becomes important for young women to have those things in place, because it only takes one night, one incident, for a woman's life to be derailed. Conversely, if a man is in the same situation and he gets a woman pregnant, his life isn't necessarily derailed because he's not saddled with the child. Most women are going to give up that child to a man, so she has by default put herself behind the 8 ball. You got a lot of guys that'll go to bat for single mothers and saying, well, you don't understand what the situation is. Does it really need to be understood? She wasn't married. She had no promise of commitment. All she got was as people like to say, and I hate to use this term, but all she got was a wet ass. Nothing else. So now it's not only her life that's probably negatively impacted, it's this child's life coming through that system that has to deal with all of this. And it's unfair to the child. We always talk about, or it's always spoken, that parenting is a tough job. Parenting is not a job. It's a responsibility. And the first responsibility that we as adults should have is, if we're going to have sex, that we talk about all the ramifications that could come potentially behind that. I spoke about my case with the paternity. I think it was last year, David. I was open with that because a lot of guys, simply put, they don't know. They don't know that when you're dealing with women, that situations like this can come about. And mind you, this wasn't just a female I was just having a casual relationship with. We were actually dating each other. We didn't know what was going to happen long term, but the point was that we were in a committed relationship. At least I thought I was. So when we talk about simps, we talk about men who don't impose structure on a woman. I know that sounds like a bad thing, but women need structure just like kids need structure. Because if you allow a woman to run rampant, she's going to run rampant. And that's one of the things that a lot of people talk about. Well, you can't control her. You know what? You're right. Cast her ass down with the sodomites. Let her survive the best way she can. Because society... Go ahead, Dave.
And see, the thing is, people get hung up on control. Shouldn't be about that. It should be about, I'm following his actions.
Right.
and I know that he doesn't carry himself like that,
Mhm.
and he's not going to steer me wrong.
Right.
So therefore, I'm going to follow suit. Whatever. If he says something, I'm going to value it,
Mhm.
especially if it's a man or a person of few words, and then he, finally says, "Listen, this is what it is, and this is what I know it to be." Either you can listen or not. But we already know all too often is because you got other people in your ears,
Mhm.
and that's what kind of derail your actions with your actual man because you're listening to too many individuals instead of taking a step back and say, "Why the hell am I listening now?"
Right.
I always make these parallels when we was younger in the dating process, and I was listening to some of my whole boys. I never took that step back and say, "What? hold up, hold up! I see your work. I see what you dealt with. Why am I getting advice from you?" But never took that step back. Sometimes you have to take a step back to move forward.
Mhm.
Let me write that down because that is a closing comment. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's difficult for a lot of men who have never been in a position to where they need to lead. And when I say need to lead, I mean you have a woman who is fully committed to following you. The only problem is you're not good at decision making, and this is why we have a lot of women that say, "Well, the guy I was with, he was terrible at decision making." And women aren't going to stay around. Smart ones anyway aren't going to stay around for men who consistently make bad decisions, and I don't blame them. The only problem is these young men have never been shown how to assess certain situations, make good decisions, and then continue to make good decisions. It was just like when I was asked when we went to the Buffalo, and people say, I can't remember who it was. She asked me, she said, "Why should a woman follow me?" And the first thing I said was, "She shouldn't. She should follow my plan." And I would tell every woman this: if you deal with a man and he doesn't have a plan for where he's going to be in five, depending on his age, 5, 10, or 20 years out, then you just essentially along for whatever it is that he decides to do, if he decides to do anything. And ultimately, if a child comes of the relationship and y'all don't have a plan, good luck, because it's not going to be pretty. Y'all going to fight about where to live, child care expenses. You're probably going to put him on child support, and he's going to resent that because now it ties him into the system, and it never improves. And this is where the relationship aspect comes in. What kind of relationship do you have, and what kind of relationship or what kind of relationship skills is the kid going to develop? Like, it could be adversarial, just like Shaughnessy said. Is it going to be one of mutual respect? What do you have? What do you want? What are you creating?
that was a heavy loaded segment. And I want to move on to the segment two. Jackie, do you have anything you want to add to this segment one?
No, I know one thing. I'm learning a lot from a male standpoint. So I am like a sponge right now.
Hey,
All I'm saying. This is
so,
good.
so we're gonna move on to segment two. And again, like I said in the introduction, most people say, "I don't do tests. I don't. I'm too grown. I don't play games." I don't know if it's not playing games. It's just that you have to put out, as Herb say, the 100 questions. You have to put out things to see where where it's going to end. And sometimes you put certain things out, and you're looking for certain information because again, we always talk about collecting data, and you realize, shit, she couldn't, she didn't flip the bill. She didn't fit it. So, example, like as we said, sense of adventure. One of the things, a test. You may say, yeah, maybe sitting around and say, hey, let's do something. Let's do something different today. And she may be conservative, like do like what her thing may be like, oh, you want to go to the bookstore and all that. No, I want to fucking go to the bookstore. I work in the school. I'm tired of education. I don't want I don't want to shit to do with that. You may say, hey, let's be a kid again. Let's go to amusement park, play games, get on a couple roller coasters, just have fun. Nah, that's childish, or whatever the case is. So automatically, a guy may think like, damn. And that's just one example. It could be something like her ballroom dancing. Let's go ice skating.
Mhm.
Let's do something different. Let's laugh. We fall down. We get back up. We help each other. We just laugh, have a good time. They're not willing to do anything like that. That's a test. Then you already lumped into some boring ass shit because they're not willing to do anything different. That's just one. And I talked about an introduction, sense of family and all that stuff, but I'm just putting it out there. I'm not going to dominate this, so I'm going to let her give his aspect of the test that men give, and then Jackie give her feedback.
Woo. Test. I want to go watch a movie. I said, babe, hey, look, let's go to the movies tonight. You get to pick. What is she going to pick? Now, she knows what kind of movies I like. Now, she's going to pick something that we both can sit down and watch and enjoy, or she's going to pick something that she knows I don't like, but she wants to see it anyway, so she's going to drag me along with me. Okay, that's that. And people say, well, why can't she do it? No, she can. But ultimately, what she's saying is her enjoyment matters more than our enjoyment. We going somewhere else. Well, we've been dating for about 4 or 5 months. She's never paid a tab. We go out. Now, I'll leave the bill on the table, or guy leaves the bill on the table. She doesn't take it. Like I said, after a significant amount of time, he knows that she's probably not going to be invested long term in that relationship. Now, that doesn't mean she has to do it all the time. But you want to know if she's going to be financially vested at any point in time in the relationship, because if you get married, she's never going to open a wallet. Whether she's making more money than you, as much money or less money. You want to know that she's willing at least once to say, you know what, babe, I got this. Mm-hmm. Most men, myself included, all we're looking for is an attempt. It's the old adage, I think this is somewhere in the Bible. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie. If you take one step towards God, he'll take 2 toward you.
Okay, so that is not even in the Bible.
Okay, so, that's what I said correctly. That's what I said correctly.
Yeah.
But I know most men, if you offer, he might accept, he might refuse, but he will never forget that you offered. And once you do that, that man will know that you are willing to contribute if necessary.
Well, Herb, before you go on, you know my motto. Can I get a damn sandwich or something? Like, damn, can I get a damn sandwich? Turkey, cheese, mayonnaise, or something. If you can't do that, what the hell do we have to talk about? If I'm on the phone with you and I'm at work and it's your day off or something, and I'm like, man, I'm hungry as hell. And they're like, what you doing? I'm like, I'm hungry, whatever. And they're like, oh, you didn't bring nothing? No. You ain't order nothing? No. Uh, and you kind of leave it like that instead of saying, damn, his job 10 minutes away. All I got to do is whip him up something, call him, and say, come down, and I'm going to put something together. If you never offer that and never do anything, what the hell do we have to talk about?
Yeah.
What the hell we now? Granted, the guy could have said, "Okay, I could order something, or do whatever," or you know what? The hell with you. His work wife gonna get him something, but I could you could get something, but sometimes it's just a test to see what you gonna do. And the guy may
Yeah.
emphasize, like, man, I'm hungry. Like, man, I'm hungry as hell. Whatever today, like for some reason, I am so hungry. And he knows that you're off. And if you let that phone hang up, whatever, you don't do nothing to rectify it, because I gotta think most decent guys, if you're a woman at work, he's gonna say something, oh, I'm gonna cash app you something or order something or I'm gonna have something delivered to your job or something like that.
Uh,
Most
uh,
decent guys
yeah. Yeah.
would
And,
do
and,
something like that.
and I'll tell you something about me. Everybody knows from September to February on Sundays, don't bother me. Now, the woman I'm dealing with, she probably knows this. She says, you know what? I know he likes pizza and wings. So when he wakes up or whatever the case is, you know what? I'm going to say, hey, she's going to say, hey, babe, look, I got your favorite beverage. I ordered you some wings and pizza. I'm going to go on off with my crew. I'll come back home about 8 o'clock. Guess what she's going to get? She's going to get a day where I'm going to say, you know what? Ain't no games on this week that I want to see, which is rare. I'm going to say, hey, what are you doing? You know that place you always talk about going to? Yeah, but it's only, not crowded on Sundays. I say, yeah, I know. Let's go. What about football? Football will be on next week. These are the type of things that women can do that ingratiates themselves to a man, as opposed to always saying, what about me? What about me? What about me? If that man is concerned and cares long term about what makes you happy, he's going to do something to make you happy. He may not do it all the time, but he's going to see to it that he does something to make you happy. Me, I'm not a person that hangs out. So you're never going to see me in the bar. You're not going to see me smoking weed. You're not going to see me drinking at all. Never mind sparingly. And if I do drink, I'm going to be at home or I'm going to be at somebody's house. More than likely family. So I'm not out of I'm not a boozer. I'm not out abusing women. I'm just generally at one of three places: home, work, or en route to one of those three places. I might be working out outside because I'm too old for all that nonsense. But I do like certain things. I like my peace and quiet. You see my little boy here sleeping. He knocked out. It's always quiet in this house. I crave quiet. So the more quiet a woman gives me, the more I'm going to see she gets what she wants. Whether that's some assistance doing something around the house, helping her do something, helping her move something. Because I know when Sundays roll around, she's going to let me have the TV by myself. And she actually might sit down there with me. And she might ask some questions about the game. And I just say, you know what? You can ask me questions about the games, just ask during commercials. And if she does that, she'll get what she wants from me. No questions asked. No matter how bizarre it might be. She might ask me, she say, hey, look, a bunch of my homegirls are coming over. We need this, and this done. Done. I'm not asking any questions. Why? Because she lets me have the TV on Sundays, uninterrupted. I'm unbothered. So she shows me that she's willing to cater to what it is that I want. So why would I not return the favor? But a lot of people, they want things done first. They're not willing to give. And when any individual isn't willing to give, regardless if they're going to receive something on the back end, they're already telling you that they're not going to be as vested as you probably want them to be. And somebody always has to give first. Somebody always has to do something first. And women will say, well, why do we have to do it first? You don't. But I assure you, if the only reason that man is asking is to what they call a shit test, if he's shit testing you and you fail, you've already set the template. You're not going to get anything from him when you want it.
And it reminds me, I'd have told this story numerous times, not for everybody, not everybody tuned in, but I always go back to what my grandmother said. And I remember this one time I had stopped talking to this one girl. Now again, she had a strong sense of family. She knew what it was. We just fell out. I wasn't on her timeline. She wanted to be married. She, her sister was got engaged, so she was tripping on that. I just didn't budge on it, so we fell off. So I started dating this other girl, and that's where the whole thing came from. Can I get a damn sandwich? Because I'm not no chef or anything. I ain't got to be a chef, but a lot of times I had it pretty easy growing up. So, but if I'm dealing with you and I'm giving you rides, picking you up from work, having mechanical issues with my car, because mind you, we in our late 20s. Not everybody walks into those type of positions. Everything's a struggle. Eh, uh, but I'm making sure you get to work, making sure I get to work. Uh, you never offer anything. Like, did you eat? Because you know your mate. Like he's not a cook. He doesn't cook like that. He'll get something, but I cook something. Now we don't live together. I cook something. So you would think the offer would be, let me make him a plate. Let me make sure he's all right, because he does do this for me. He does make sure I get to work. He does pick me up. And and again, like I said, I went to visit my grandmother, and you know, she kind of knew everything. She knew everything about it. Like she could just look at me and knew, pinpoint, and knew what was going on. And that's where I always come with the slogan. She used to call me Maine. She's like, "Man, what's going on? I already know it's something, but let me tell you this: if that person can't help you cross the bridge, you go one way and they go the other." So the one girl who had this strong sense of family thing, we started talking, what's going on, David, such and such. And I kind of share some things. She's like, yeah, see, that's the issue. If you would have been dealing with me, you would have to worry about any of that. So you know where I end up going back to that. And I just kind of ghosted the other one. Because I realized she didn't have a sense of family. And I have a sense of family. Don't get me wrong, they get on my damn nerves and all that stuff, but that's family. But I have a sense of family. Like if it's something important and valuable that we're celebrating, I'm going to try to be there as many times as possible.
Yeah.
And some people don't have that. And that means a lot to some guys who have that.
Yeah.
Now, if a guy doesn't have that and you don't have that, then it may not be an issue. But if a guy, that's the point and part of having conversations and talking to people and understanding and listening to what they're saying, listening when they're bringing up their mother, their father, their aunts, their sisters, their brothers, and you could tell like they're kind of close. Most people don't listen, so that might be an issue in itself. So I just thought I would share that.
See, and that's why I always say, particularly, this is more so for women than it is for men. I would say if a woman doesn't have at least one male friend who she's known for at least 20 years, she's failed as an adult because those guys are the glue for a lot of things that a woman can do. Case in point, if you as a woman, you got a good male friend, and you need help moving something, you can call on him, and he knows you're reliable. He knows that if he needs something, he can call you and you'll help him out. He's gonna be there. He's not gonna require any money. He's not gonna require anything other than a thank you, and he's gone. See, a lot
And,
of
and,
women,
and he very well may have a couple boys like, yo, we need to help my girl do something. I'll
right,
take care. I'll get y'all something to drink, something to eat.
right,
We need to help her. We need to help her. And
and
they'll
and
do it.
and a lot of women don't understand. And this has been talked about, at least not on our particular show, but this has been talked about at large with a lot of women. They'll say, "Why did this man? I begged this man to marry me. He didn't. He left me, got with this other woman, and 4 months later they were married. She more than likely showed him something that he was looking for in the last woman and didn't get, and he got it, and that was his thing. That let him know that she was the type of woman that he desired. Because there are a lot of men walking around here right now who would like nothing more than to be married with a wife and kids. That's a lot of men's goals. But they haven't found that one woman who has sold out to him completely. Now, I know we talk about all the things with regards to finances. Is he stable mentally? Is he emotionally intelligent? Is he emotionally available? All that stuff will come, provided you two are willing to work on it. But we have too many people at the first sign of some resistance, they want to throw in a towel. They never give the relationship time to blossom. Through a rocky road or whatever the case is. Everybody think that every relationship is gonna be a smoothly paved road. Newsflash. Life isn't like that. So why do you think a relationship should be like that? And some guys will intentionally put something out there just to see if that woman's trustworthy. And what I mean by that, man will intentionally leave his phone unlocked. He already knows what screen is on. He come back 2 hours later, and if that phone is off the screen, he knows he can't trust you. And because for a phone, a lot of women think that's a source of cheating for men, they gonna take a peek. Oh, he won't know. He's gonna know. You failed your test. Mm. And you're gonna fight tooth and nail and say, well, all I did was look at it. What for? You had no business. It's not your phone. That old adage that curiosity killed the cat. Curiosity has ended a lot of relationships. Because a man could be planning something. He could be texting his boy back and forth. Yo, we got an anniversary coming up. It's been a year since we've been dating. I want to make this special for you, yada, yada, yada. He could be planning to take you away for a weekend. All of a sudden, now you get wind, and it's not a surprise. Well, how do you think that's going to make him feel? He went all through all these lengths to keep a secret from you. Told you, make sure you have these days off. I got something planned. Well, what you got planned? That's just a little something. Could have been proposing to you. No, you don't ruin that. He calls off the marriage and you're hurt. Those things happen.
Yeah. Hey Jackie, you got something you want to say? We dropping some major tests out here.
Well, I definitely hear them, and I also agree because well, first of all, let me touch on the um can a brother eat part. Okay.
Can a brother get a damn sandwich? Damn.
Can a brother have a sandwich? Not even a sandwich, but a sandwich. So here's my thing here. If there's a relationship that or you're with someone who you're, spending time with, if they don't have that heart and it shows, then keep it moving. They're not even trying to be in your life in that manner. And their selfishness definitely is something you want to leave alone. Because you can't really, even though you can teach people how to treat you, but you shouldn't have to teach people how to be kind, courteous, and do the right things, right?
Hmm.
So with that, that's a definite. As far as when it comes down to everything else, I just think that you know right now the way things are, I think that if we can't trust who we're around and if we don't like certain things that we see in other people, I don't think you should push anything or try to get with people who are not in your, league, so to say, because everyone has their own kind of preference in who they want to be with and the type of people they want to be with. But I just find that a lot of times we don't, um, the testing part, it goes both ways. We don't really look at the fact that a woman is going to do the same, especially if she is also invested. And a lot of times, you may not have to, check a phone because one thing I don't do is invade someone else's privacy, no matter what. Because if I trust a person, I should be able to trust that they're going to always do right by me. And even though we have to always, make sure we're covering ourselves, but and people do change, and if the relationship is supposed to be solid, there will be a trust and an openness to it that you wouldn't even have to really um, do any tricks or try to see where that person is and how they are and how they would, either cheat or not cheat, because you'll pick up those signs anyway. you know if you're around a person enough, just by how they, act or how they treat you or how they respond to certain things, and basically how they live their lives. It would tell you a whole lot, So.
And I understand that, and I don't even think it's about trying to trick somebody.
Right.
Naturally, the progression it will happen, but I'm just letting people know. We just put it out there that like there are tests involved, and sometimes
Mhm.
you have to be sharp and think about it. Like, man, maybe he's testing me, or
Hmm.
whatever the case is. And if you care enough to think that,
Mhm.
because sometimes you'll share that, like, yo, he asked me this or he asked me that. What do you think? And
Mhm.
somebody may have been through the process, and they might have been married and been together for years,
Mhm.
and they say, "Oh, I understand what," and they might be trying to school you on game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if you ignore it and never pay attention, like, well, whatever, he ain't come out and directly say anything, so I'm just gonna do what I normally do. You could very well lose out on something that was special. So
Mhm.
sometimes you have to seize the opportunity and understand that test and these things do happen, and certain
Mhm.
things are make or break
Yeah.
for people.
Mhm.
People always talk about make or break. What's a make or break for you? And sometimes how you get to a make or break is certain situations like certain situations, time and space, or during that time that somebody may need you,
Hmm.
and they might not come out directly, but they put something out. Even just like earlier when I said the guy said he was hungry as hell. Like, I'm hungry as hell, whatever. Just to see, and they know that you're off. They
Mhm.
just maybe looking to see if you gonna say, well, you know what? Um, if you want, what do you want? because I can bring that up to you or whatever. I know you busy, and I know you said you had a couple meetings or whatever. It's also paying attention to what someone said throughout in your conversations, because a lot of times, again, and I had just made that my like closing comment from last uh, show when we talk about listening, and they said the truth of the matter is when you're really listening, you're not doing anything else. But we're so distracted that myself and everybody included, we're always doing something else. Whether you're watching TV,
Yeah.
looking at your phone, typing something. But true listeners kind of like, okay, let me put everything aside. Now I'm locked in on what you
Right.
got to say.
Hmm.
But then again, can't do that because y'all people come up with shit. That's weird. Why you looking at me like that? Why you
Yeah.
why you focus on me? Because I'm listening to you. That's weird. That's creepy. So you can't win. You can't win in this era. But that's the true listening techniques when you say, okay, I'm about to block everything out and I'm about to lock you in on what you got to say. So you got to pay attention to what people saying. And if somebody, I learned from a long counseling 101, when somebody's saying something and they're expressing their feelings, you need to address that. You can't
Hmm.
let that go. You can't let that go. If somebody like, man, I was angry as hell. Excuse my language. This bitch pissed me off. You need to come back with something, some active listening skills, and say, what made her piss you off? Why are you upset? You don't do that. And you're like, yeah, I know. Okay. Yep. Okay. Then you texting on your phone. Yep. Nah, that ain't gonna work.
And I'll follow that up with the with the public service announcement that I gave at the top of the broadcast. The woman who, well, the room next to that was having the issues with the noise complaint, they came down, and I had informed them that I would discount the rate. In the midst of our conversation, she didn't feel that I was addressing her concerns, so she said she feel like she's being dismissed. Immediately, I know I needed to do at least two things. One was to show her that I was listening to everything she said. Two was to assure her that not only did I hear everything that she said, that I was addressing her concerns, but what the limitations were to my abilities is why I couldn't do anything else for her at the particular time. And I think listening is an underrated skill set. And the more you do it, and the more active you become, the better you become at handling certain situations. That's something that I'm going to address in the book as well. A lot of men are they're deemed guilty of not listening. And what a lot of women have to understand is this: it's not that men don't listen. Men don't know how to react to certain things. It's like BGS always say, women speak with their feelings. So because men operate and speak with more concrete terms, they have to try and kind of figure out, and they have to work their way through it to figure out what it is that this female that they're speaking to really is trying to say. Case in point, a man could do something and it doesn't make a woman feel comfortable. As opposed to saying that makes me feel uncomfortable, she might say, I don't like that. Oh, well, you liked it any other time. So what's wrong? She just didn't feel comfortable at the moment. But as opposed to saying that, that's what she says. So now it's left up to the man to try and figure out, okay, should I not do this anymore? Or was this just bad timing? Or is it just me? And that becomes a point of contention in a relationship When somebody will say, "We've been dating for all this time and you never knew that," well, how was I supposed to know? You didn't say it outright. Well, I shouldn't have to. Wrong, because he didn't know. It's an honest mistake. But a lot of women would take an honest mistake as opposed to saying, I'm sorry, a lot of women would take an honest mistake and think it was intentional behavior and an intentional act upon the man. Now that man is left with a decision to make. Does he try to rectify something that he didn't know he had done, or do he move on? Most guys will probably say, you know what? I can't deal with this anymore. I don't want to deal with this anymore, and I'm gone. He's not going to give you a reason. He's just going to be up and out. Some women will say that's ghosting. Yeah, it very well may be. But there's been some writings on the wall about a particular situation that came up. And this is why men will do certain things. They will say, okay, I know she didn't like this, but let me see if I can find out why she didn't like this. Sit you down and say, can you tell me why you didn't like this? Oh, because I didn't.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that
that's
happens a
the
lot.
test. Yeah, that's the test. And that's when he knows he's got to go. It could be something as simple as that. A lot of women aren't as good with communicating as they like to believe. And I know women, there's always talk about women express themselves more than men. Yeah, it's easy to express yourself when you talk about how you feel and you dancing around the mulberry bush. But if I ask you what your favorite color is, you're not gonna say, "Well, I think I feel." No, you're just gonna answer the question. That's a lot more what women need to do when they're communicating with men sometimes, and it doesn't happen.
And we've talked about this before. There's shortcuts. Sometimes when men want to listen,
Mhm.
but you can't give every detail. We don't want all the details. We want to get to the main facts so we can give you a solution. I will go tell a story and she pissed me off, and then she went and answered the phone. I don't give a damn about her answering the phone. I want to know, stay focused, stay on task, because more than likely if he got something else to do, he he wants to be able to comfort you, but he's still, thinking ahead, like, okay, I got other things to do. So you can't draw stuff out. Men will give you quicker. This is the issue. This is where it's at. Now we've talked about this before. We say that women speak 20,000 words a day and men speak 7,000 words a day. Then it came back later on when I had first had got that information. It was saying that it might be some shady, that might not be right, because now more men are doing all the talking. And I said, that could be correct, because we got a lot of guys that suspect out here. So they running their mouth like women. So shit, I don't know where it's at right now. I don't know uh, where it's at, but for the most part, for me, and I remember, I think a assistant principal saying that. She's like, Mr. Glover, he's not gonna say too much, but when he does, you better listen.
Yeah,
His
yes,
words is
Hutton.
profound. His words is profound. So that's kind of my mantra, whatever. I'm not gonna try to talk you to death. If you get me to talk you to death, and I'm talking you to death, it's something because I'm passionate about. And if you don't adhere and you don't want to listen to it, you're almost getting ready to stick a fork in it, because my shutdown game is fierce. It's fierce,
All
and
right now, all right now.
that's what you have to understand. Again, know your personnel, and I
Yeah,
give people due process on it. Like, listen, if I'm talking, you need to listen. When you feel like, oh, I'm doing too much or I'm saying too much, as you said earlier, the writing is on the wall.
Yeah.
The writing is on the wall. And a lot of guys travel for the path of least resistant. We've talked about that before, where it may be somebody to say, just even kill and not trying to buck at everything
Right.
you do. And all of this stuff comes twofold because we talk about it that yeah, women say most of these men want to be women, and then men say most women want to be men, but a lot of these women, y'all want to buck against everything,
Mhm.
poke out your chest and want to dispute everything, argue everything. Yeah, argue, try to find any reason, argue about sports and shit, whatever. You don't know shit about sports. You ain't never played that, but you want to argue with me about it. Somebody who been doing this since I was 7, 8 years old. Y'all just want to be
Did
combative.
you say some or most, but not all?
I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say because most people understand that it's not all. We don't deal with absolutes, whatever. So I think most people, many people understand that um, at this stage of the game.
Yeah, and to what David is saying, there's a lot of women who are knowledgeable about sports. That don't misunderstand this statement, but what it comes to is is some women will take the little they know about sports and they will try to extrapolate that versus a person who's been participating in sports either as a participant, coach, whether it's an active coach or volunteer, for decades. There's absolutely no way in the world that anyone, no matter what the discipline or career is, will listen to somebody who's a casual observer versus somebody who's a full-time participant and think they're equal, their opinions are equal. That's just no way happening. This is what you
Yeah.
get when a lot of people who aren't parents will give parents parenting advice. Say, what do you know? You don't have kids.
So let me just say that, and you're right, Herb. Whatever there are some women who know sports and they follow it and all that, and you know that it's ingrained. They might have had 3 or 4 brothers. They may
Mhm.
have participated in sport. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about these casual mania type of fans that they start following a trend, and then they think they want to. All right, the one thing about me, if I know you, I'm gonna study my opponent. And if I know you know more than me in a certain subject area, I'm not gonna debate about that. What
Right,
is it to debate about? I
right.
know that you know healthcare. I know you know cooking. I know you know certain things. So you're not gonna get that from me. But we've had women on this panel who said, "Oh, I'll just YouTube coaching and I could beat you." And I'm like, are you for real? Are you serious? You could get the best players, you could get your top players, and I could get mediocre players, and we will destroy you. And we had Jack, we had some people in here with that they just bucked everything that we said, like no matter what.
I recall. And believe it or not, that's also a shit test. And it's a very easy one to figure out. It really is because the last thing a man wants, anybody, whether male or female, but I'm specifically going to say men. Men don't want to sit up there and listen to a person that's a casual observer of sports and talk about what they should have done this. Look at you like, beat it. Go somewhere. This is why I choose to watch football by myself. I really do, because I know how I am, especially when the Cowboys are playing and they do something dumb as hell. I'm sitting there yelling at the TV, and people say, "Well, why do you yell at the TV? It's not like they can hear you." That ain't the point. God damn it, it's vintage. They shouldn't be doing this mess. And I'll say something, and 30 seconds later, the commentator repeated. Some people say, "Oh," I said, "Because I know the sport."
Yeah. I've had I had I've had women argue me tooth and nail about boxing because they watched a couple fights. Then you get deep into it, and I say, so what about this? Well, I never heard of him. Well, shut the hell up,
Right.
because if you don't understand, if you don't know who this person is, why? So it always amazes me. And this was back in the days years ago when Money Mayweather get ready to fight, and then you have women like where the fight parties at, fight night, whatever, and you listen like, wow, really? But then you have a average boxer that's up on the rise, fighting, and you're like, oh, you watching the fight tonight? Who is that? You don't know who that is?
Yeah.
Like, wow. So they only know some many of them only know like the big prize fighters and things of that nature. Uh, and that's their knowledge base when you think of like from generations like the Mayweathers, the Mike Tysons, of course, Muhammad Ali, and fighters like that. But you have some women that will try to go tooth and nail. And again, like I said, I'm not going to argue with something that I know you know more about than me, just for the sake of arguing. Now you got that. You got it. I'm gonna listen so I can learn.
Mhm.
So you need to listen and learn to listen,
Yep.
and that's both genders.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, we got Big Shine Dog about to come through.
Hey,
What
What's
up?
going on, Shaughnessy?
nothing much.
How you doing?
I am good, good, good. Just
What's
getting off
good?
of work. I've been listening for a little bit, but
Okay.
and
What stuck out to you?
we're not going to the boxing matches because we know boxing. We're going to the boxing matches because boxing matches bring a lot of men out. A lot of them. A
we
lot.
well we kind of know that. We kind of know that.
So yeah.
But then you have some that just want to solidify like they know what the hell they talking about.
Um yeah, I don't know. I
well, I'll
don't
be
even ever watch the fight for
I'll be the first to say this. I haven't watched much boxing in about the last decade. So when people ask me, I tell people, I say, look, I don't know enough to critique the boxers of this generation. Now, if we were talking about boxers of the late '80s, mid '80s, with Hearns, Hagler, some of the heavyweights, then I'm better able to have the discussion. And people have to realize there's nothing wrong with bowing out a discussion because you don't know enough. You're gonna garner respect from people when you do that. They're gonna say, "Hey, look, I know this individual is not gonna speak about something that they don't know anything about." So when they do speak, it's like David said when he was talking, they're gonna listen. It's just like I haven't been following the NBA much. Matter of fact, I boycotted the NBA this year, even though my Sixers are doing well, only because of how Kyrie was handled. That's a different topic for another time. But when people talk about the players now versus the players a generation ago, I'm like, look, this is not the NBA I grew up watching. The defense is lacking. It's easier to score. It's not. It's just not the basketball I like to watch. I don't get involved in the NBA until the postseason comes. That's when it's basketball. All this other stuff, I'm just like, this is glorified shoot arounds.
And I think that's the thing. Like I said before, kind of speak on what you kind of know. Other than that, I'm not gonna go back and forth because I know there's certain things that women have knowledge of that I have no idea about. So all I could do is listen, take it in, and respect that, and give you your props for knowing that. But sometimes, on the opposite, you have you have. I mean, and don't get me wrong, you still have men who like to argue everything down, and you're like, dude, you ain't have a dog in this fight, and you was arguing. And that may be some guy they're just sharing. Yeah, me and my girl got into this about that. Like, what was the point? You didn't know anything about it, so just you just gotta understand and respect each other's knowledge base, but understand that the test will always be given some way, somehow. And I think usually when they're given, that's when you come up with deal breakers because you have given out a strong test and they failed it.
Yeah.
Yep,
Shaughnessy, you give out tests?
I do. I do. The first one is I'm gonna hang around you for a day at a time, some couple of days, and I want to see how many times you mention speaking or going to even see your children. Like, have you done that? And if that's not mentioned, then I'm instantly like, no, sorry, because you're teaching first and you haven't mentioned them, so if you're a bad father, I can't.
So, so basically, you saying you'll be around them for a couple of days, and if they never mention their children or going to see them, then that's kind of like a deal breaker.
Yeah, I said there's no proof of active involvement. You know, mm-mm, nope.
What if he doesn't bring it
Um,
up, but he knows that he knows like that's a given, and he's gonna do it anyway. He just never didn't want to bring that up.
well, if we're dealing with each other and we're together all day, then you're about like the people that are around me. They've been on. There's no way you're around me constantly and you don't hear me on the phone with my children at some point in time. Whether they asking for where they left pod is, I don't know, but you're still gonna have me or hear me on the phone interacting with my children.
Okay.
What else is it? I would definitely say family too. Like I don't know. I don't like people that's always in discord or don't value family time, events or things like that. And then after that, I think, oh, and cleanliness. I gotta see if you dirty.
Hmm. And how you determine that?
Beforehand, purposely have certain conversations, um, just to see how you respond. Like, oh my gosh, I need to go do the laundry. I haven't changed my sheets all week. Then I want to see what your response is. Because that's instantly you either going to say, oh, well, I haven't done mine in a month. And I'm be like, yo, that's disgusting. Things like that. Yep. Have certain conversations around certain topics.
Okay, Jackie. Anything
Well,
you?
well, my testing just start off basic. In the beginning of even um, anyone trying to show me any type of attention in that way, my first thing is I want to see where they are spiritually. And once that foundation is, established, then it's all about, are they trustworthy? Are they dependable? And certain things I may just ask just to see if they would actually say, "Oh, I would take care of that," not in the aspect of getting something for me or anything. I'll generalize a question like, I'm trying to take care of something for this other person or whatever, and I'm, you know, I'm trying to get some ideas on what to do. What do you think? Depending on feedback, I go with that. But the trustworthy thing is big to me. And if a person, when I start talking to anyone, whether they're friends or any potential, I want to find out if they're the type of person that likes to be MIA when they don't feel like talking to somebody. I don't like that. Like if a person cannot be an adult and say, "Hey, I need some time," or I just, have to work some things through or whatever. But if a person, even friends, when they shut down and don't say anything, and I reach out of concern, stuff like that don't sit well with me. So that's another deal breaker to a degree for me. If I can depend on a person to pick up a phone, then that's cool. If I can't, I don't want to have nothing to do with them. I don't even care if they text me back and say, "Hey, I'm in the middle of something," out of respect. But when people show me that side, then that means they're the type of person that holds stuff, and they're the type of person that will be vindictive enough not to talk to you whenever they get mad. So I don't put people like that in my circle of friends or otherwise.
Yeah. I think that if you're going through something, you got to give, and if it's somebody that you care about, you got to give them something, some details, some understanding.
Hmm.
You just can't say, I don't want to be bothered right now. Yeah, I see that, like wild ass
What if,
animals you got going on.
what if it's only for like
I
an
said
hour or
I said
so?
they treat it like monkey
Yeah,
bars. When you're like, come on, man, just jumped up, ran across, jumped. Hey,
yeah,
that's his exercise.
yeah. But yeah. So what did you say, Shaughnessy?
What if it's not all day? Like, what if y'all may have gotten into it at 10 a.m. and you're like, you know what, I'm good for today. And I gotta talk to you. I have to talk to you. Not I have to, but and then I talk to you at 5, like, hey, how was your day? I don't think there's nothing wrong with that.
What a- I mean, if
No,
y'all got
nothing is
into it,
wrong with that. But I'm talking about people who decide whenever they want to speak. Over the years, I've run into people who have done that and who I've seen it done to. And it's just when, if the person is not strong enough, I've seen people wait for a call from a person who they might have just seen or might have had interactions with. And sometimes the young people act like their world is going to fall apart behind certain actions, but then they're not mature. And
Mm.
when I see those things happen to, like, in my life, whether, like I said, they're an associate or they're a friend or whatever, I check it. I make sure if it happens once, I check it. I let them know. And I ask the question, are you the type of person that shut everybody out when you feel like it? Because once they're going to do, especially if it's a male that's trying to have anything to do with my life, I need to know that because I don't play the shutdown game. If people need space, they need space to think or whatever, and that's fine. But when it comes down to a person just willy nilly, you're totally like gone from from the face of the earth for whatever amount of time you choose until you feel like it, and then you'll have people worried. I mean, I've had friends, I've had relatives, I've had people who have done that. I check them and let them know I'm not going through this. I don't have to. So if you decide that you are the type of person that wants to just cut people back and just whenever, yeah, it's a cutback right there because I don't have to invest in any type of relationship with that person but a high and by. Mm.
mm,
I'm
Mm.
sorry.
no, you good, you good.
It just
Cause
shows what's to come. That's a preview to the upcoming attractions. And you're going to worry about, oh, if the person is in your life, if y'all have any dispute, if you have any falling out, then they may not talk to you for a week, a month. I've seen people who don't even talk to their mate or spouse for days, and they living in the same house. For what? Mm-mm. That's just not okay. I don't see that as good. I don't see that if people have those tendencies, it's gonna come through everything. It's gonna show in everything, and I don't. Mm-mm. Resolve got to come. I can't go to sleep pissed off or having somebody pissed off at me. Just and the word of God says that we should not go to sleep, angry, and So
I
I
wonder.
just feel like
I'm
it's
gonna
not a
start
good
doing
lead.
that. Not
I
going to
wonder.
sleep angry.
Yeah,
I'm block queen.
They
I'll
say
block
that
you in a
they say
second.
that's something that you should, as a couple, they say that's something you should never do.
Correct.
What
yeah.
block?
I wonder is that a correlation when people don't wake up, whatever, like how
I
did
know.
is
Yeah,
that
me
an
too.
impact, whatever? Um, was it stress? Was it a stress level on there? on their heart and they didn't wait. I don't know. I'm just saying. I wonder if there's a
Mm.
correlation
But I know
between.
I'll block my boyfriend and still come to his house and still get in the same bed. But I still block you. I'm gonna
Girl,
talk
the
to you.
games you play, I ain't got that to listen. I hear you, but that's
I
too
didn't feel
much.
like talking to you during the day. I see you
Well,
know I'm
there's another problem with that. The fact of the matter is, it's a matter for me, and I'm just saying for me. I
mhm.
It's a level of respect, right? Now, men, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kings, men, they thrive off of the respect in every relationship.
Yeah.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes down to not talking to someone, it just sheds a level of respect in my eyes. It sheds a level of why should you block a person that you love and care about, even when you feel like you don't want to be bothered? That's a feeling, right? That's a feeling that
Yeah, that is.
Mhm.
everybody can get over. The fact of the matter is the respect is there. Hey babe, I don't want to talk right now, but I'll see you later. Babe, I'm going through a little something, but I'll see you later.
Well,
That's
See,
respect.
see,
Not
Well,
see,
blocking them and
see,
say, eh, huh?
no, see, and I understand where you're going with that. It's about validation, whatever. Don't ignore my shit, whatever.
Hello.
Like acknowledge it. Okay, you upset or whatever the case is, but don't don't do that because
And
you
then
wouldn't
block
want
it
it done to
too.
you. Yeah.
oh
And
yeah,
then
I
block
get.
him. Come on now, girl.
Hmm.
I'ma
And
spank
you know
you.
what I do? I'll wait. I send a text message, and then when I see those three dots pop up, and if you're an iPhone user, you see them three dots, I block you right there. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
write all you
What does
you got
that
too
mean?
much
What
with
three
you. Yeah.
dots? What
you
three
don't write
dots?
your
What?
whole
Where am I
message,
lost
and
Yeah.
now
at?
it's gonna be green.
Yeah.
when you're responding to an instant message, let's make sure we get the terminology correct. There's a
Hmm.
difference between a text and an instant message. What
Yeah, but
Shaughnessy is
for
referring to.
iPhone, if you have iPhones, if you both have
No, I don't have
iPhones.
an iPhone.
Oh,
Oh,
okay, all right.
okay. So with me, I have an iPhone. My boyfriend has an iPhone. If I say something slick, I'm gonna wait till he read it one, and then I'm going to wait until I see those three dots. And when
You can
I
still
see
say
those
that
three
on
dots,
the Android, like that they're responding back or
oh,
whatever.
okay, yeah. So when I see those three dots, I immediately hurry up so I can block it. So now
That's
you sent a
dirty. That's
paragraph, and
dirty.
it's gonna be
Yeah, it
written.
is, man. That's foul.
Girl, she got games right now. Girl, you got me tired, girl. Even hearing all of this you do, that's too much activity. I'm like, that's too much
I
brain
do.
power to be using to be watching them time and they herp and block. Girl, what is what is the point? I don't get it. I hear you. I think it's cool. It's
I
cute
don't
right now,
take.
but I tell you one thing, girl, that's too much to go through. That's a lot. If you gotta do all of that, it's like, why though? It's like, what is the purpose? That's the only thing I'm trying to figure out. To go
Because
through
I
those.
don't want you to talk to me right now. And if I have the last
Mm,
word, I won. I won this segment.
it seems like you're one of those ladies that you gotta have your way, have to have the last say. So where does your guy have any foundation in your life then? If you're trying to run every little thing that should, and if he's talking to you, you choose to block him. So then you're telling him, I don't respect you or anything you gotta say, but then I'ma still come around you later because I do care about you and I do want what you got to give me, but still I'm gonna disrespect you as often as I can because you're gonna allow me to do that. That's all I hear.
I
So,
don't think the same only because the
Shaughnessy, is
conversation
he a
is gonna
simp?
be had. You're not just gonna just the conversation is gonna be had. That's one.
but the
And
conversation should be had, not going to be had. If anyone has to figure out, trying to call you,
right,
figure out
but
what's
if
going
I don't
on.
want to talk about it during the day because maybe this conversation or this part this having this conversation with you is gonna mess up my day. And I deal with enough stuff throughout the day, enough people, enough of their stuff to have to
Hmm.
deal with that right now. So I'll talk to you
Okay,
about it
but
later.
I get that, baby girl, but blocking them, you can ignore something and just say for a minute and then say, listen, I got a lot going on at this minute. I'm going to hit you back later. Just out of respect. So then you don't have to see another message come up for him to try to figure out what's going on. Because even if it wasn't him, maybe it's a friend of yours, maybe it's a sister of yours, and you're doing these type of things, then they're going to be like, well, why am I chasing this girl down to even have a conversation? Why am I trying to figure out how to make it right, what to do, what's going on? Regardless of what, if you were to say the same thing you just said, listen, I got a lot going on. I got stress at work. Let's just deal with things later. I think he'll be more receptive to that than you now playing all these games with somebody and they have to now figure out how to fix whatever the hell they don't even know that's
Well,
wrong.
most of the time, as adults, and the longer we know people, you know what you did. I don't
A
just,
lot of
oh,
times
I'm
we all say that as women and we don't know nothing because we are not in the next person's mind because the reception, everybody's perception is going to always be different than our own.
Let
So
me jump in here for one moment.
that
Let me
person
jump in
that
here.
is on the receiver end, that dude, he's not seeing it the way we see it as women.
if
Let me
I
That's
jump
what
in
you
here
block
for
got to
one.
you, if
Let
look
me
I
jump in
at.
here
block
for
you,
one
whether
moment.
it's a friend, a
Oh, Herb, go
boyfriend,
ahead. I'm sorry.
family member,
Remember,
if I block
remember,
you know what you did. If I
remember
Yeah,
what,
block
but
you know.
you
remember
holding
what.
on to stuff though, babe. You gotta let go. You don't have to block them and then say you know what you did. Just baby girl, think about this. What if it was you? Put yourself in the same position that you got him in, right? Regardless
Mm-hmm.
of that, everybody need grace. Everybody need mercy. So if we're gonna hold on to everything, where is any kind of resolve gonna come to make sure you guys come?
Some people get unblocked.
Hold on.
And if they try,
I'm
and
gonna
Remember,
if
put
they
her over my knee.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
gotta meet
yeah.
her too. I'm
hold
putting
on.
you over my knee.
if they get
Remember,
through and they like, oh hey, how you doing? I needed
remember,
my time away from you.
Go
remember
ahead,
what
Herb.
I talked about earlier in the show when I said some guys don't know how to walk away. You're
Hmm.
seeing a perfect example of.
Exactly. I get it, her right
Yeah.
there.
So Shaughnessy, what is his feedback or after that you blocked him and he's tried to reach out to you?
9 times out of 10, we're going to the same place at night, so you're gonna have to talk to me.
So, but
Well, what's
sometimes
the
you want to get stuff off your chest right then and there, and you want to be validated. So he said, "Oh, she's gonna block me all day. I'll see her later on, 8 hours later."
We're
girl?
gonna
It
talk
takes
about it
too
eight
much.
hours later.
Huh?
Girl, it takes too much to carry that.
We're gonna talk about it 8 hours later.
Mm,
That's the thing.
mm.
Yeah, you gotta learn. Communication is key when it comes down to understanding where not the other person is, and everybody. You gotta put yourself in that person's shoe. To see that sometimes you may not address certain things the way the next person might want or expect, but grace should be given in the process to make sure that we can all say, okay, I won't hold that fault against you because why should it? And it's not going to do nothing but grow and get rooted and become this nice ugly seed of
See, I
ugliness.
guess that for me, it turns into something different. If, just like I said, for the people that I'm around that know me, whatever, everybody knows the same thing. We at this point, if you're, it's not like I have many new friends.
Mm.
If you if you done something to get blocked, you know you've done something wrong. But right now, again, just like I said, if I need my time from you, I need my time from you. Um, I can block you for a day, I can block you for 10 days, but if I don't want us to be in a place of being upset, or you know, there was one time, me and my friend from high school, we've been friends since ninth grade. I blocked her for like
Oh
a month.
God, not the glam squad.
Rakira, I blocked Rakira for like a month.
Uh,
And then when I was like, oh my gosh, it's been a month. Let me text Rakira. Call me when you're free.
so,
Then we talked. We didn't have to argue. We didn't have to beef. We gave each other time. It wasn't like she was beating me down, or she called my sister or called another friend. Was like, oh, tell her to da 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 da. I didn't block her from my social media. We gave each other our
this is
time.
the caveat.
Huh?
That's
This is the
that's
caveat,
KYP.
Shaughnessy.
They
This
know
is the
their person
caveat.
up.
Yeah. If he
What?
did that to you, how would you feel?
Well, males are different. I'm not. I don't.
No,
He's not
answer
gonna
the
go
question,
through his.
young lady.
He's not gonna. He's
No,
not gonna
answer.
go through his
Because
phone and block me.
Well, that's the
because
He
whole
will not.
point. But
that
the
could be an
question was
opportunity for a
posed,
jump off. That could be
right? So
opportunity. Like, you know
the
what?
question was
You know
posed:
what?
what if?
He did that to me. For 3 days, I'm gonna disappear. Now I'm about to get with this young lady. For 3 days.
Well, see, I guess because that's not really the reality of our relationship. I don't know. I mean, he cannot talk to me. I don't think he's gonna go through his phone and actually do the physical block, but he'll not talk to me. And say, "We'll talk about it when I get off," or "Are you gonna meet me at the bar?" That's it. Because we're gonna talk about it regardless, and neither one of us is going to sit there and bicker, arguing with us for long. You got
See,
me
they
for
know
five
each other.
minutes.
Right. I was just saying that they have that routine already set.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it
Hmm.
toxic?
Go on, girl, with your
Is it
bad
toxic?
self. God bless y'all for real. Because if you got it like that now, then y'all have a routine of understanding that okay, he pissed me off last night, or whatever, or we're not seeing eye to eye. Then we'll see each other later. Got it.
But see, but see, it's not Shaughnessy. A lot of people think that's where it's at. I'm gonna block you. I'm gonna block you, and I'm gonna do this and that. And the guy may say, "Okay, you may not want that treatment, but sometimes you dig in your own grave. You dig in your own grave with some guys that have options,
Hmm.
mad options."
Explore them. Go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah.
Be
Oh,
free.
really, really, really. You talking real good.
Well, it
Mm.
comes from. It sounds like from a woman who is so used to somebody already that there's really nothing seeming to really fight for or hold on
It's
to.
not just. I wouldn't say that. I'm not gonna say that. But yeah. Listen, I utilize that block button. I utilize that thing real good.
Yeah.
But I feel like it keeps me away from. I don't argue with people. I don't, because by the time we talk about it, everybody's calm. Everybody's calm. Everybody's relaxed. Everybody thought about it. Now we can talk.
Well, that's an interesting way of looking at it, but sometimes distance causes more distance. And if I know that, and we were talking about that earlier, if somebody doesn't want to act like that I exist for a certain time, I will
Mhm.
definitely text, let's keep it that way. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, done.
Mhm.
Because there's no reason for that. Adults should not have to block each other. That's one step that is so def- definite in my book. It's so definite, and even like people in my family and people who I associate with, we all feel the same way. Like if a person has to block a person, then let's leave it that way. If it has to get to that, I can see the
Mm.
ignoring part for a little bit, or just putting it out there saying, "Listen, I need time." Everyone understands that.
Maybe because we bad ignorers in this generation, we have a hard time ignoring people. So if we block them, we don't see the notifications. Maybe
Oh,
that's the issue. Because
probably.
I definitely understand what you're saying in the sense of, blocking is so definite and you can just ignore them. But I'd rather not even see the notifications.
Out of sight,
Sometimes,
out of mind.
yeah, sometimes I think whatever, with all that we see and all that we wake up to, that it's always see we. It seemed like to me, and people like, oh, it's COVID and all that. A lot of people dying younger. Like it's a
Yeah,
lot of people that you wake up
yeah.
to every day and you're like, really? Wow. Like 30 something, 40 something. I think life is too short to go back and forth and have all this mental strife when you don't have to. And the best form of that is to try to communicate because everybody could get in shutdown mode. But then sometimes you get in shutdown mode, it might be that one instance that you're in shutdown mode that you might have regrets. Like, damn, they were trying to reach out to me. I didn't respond back, or I blocked them. I don't know. And I
You,
and I
I
do and I
think,
do understand your point too, Shaughnessy, that sometimes you just got to get away. Like, look, I don't want to be bothered. I got a lot
no,
going
I'm
on.
just saying, what's messed up about my thought process in that?
Hmm.
Is God wanted it to be that way so my grieving process could be a little better. Cause we had distanced ourselves from each other. Literally, that's my thought process on that. It doesn't bring me to a place of regret.
Mm. So let me ask you something. I'm going to piggyback off of David. Now, as far as the regret part is concerned, that's what I'm in touch. Let's say you guys had whatever normal disagreement, and it was the last conversation y'all had. You blocked him or whatever, and he's trying to reach out to you. Let's say, God forbid, he had a car accident or something happened to him tragically. For those hours that you blocked him, you didn't see him later on. You're thinking, well, it's whatever. And let's say you just let the day go by till the next day. Next day, the
Well,
person
I
passes
wouldn't.
away. The person
Yeah.
passes away. Then,
Hmm.
and even if it's not a couple of days later, let's say the person passes away, that's going to be one regret that you would hold on to
Is
because it would have.
I don't I'm listen, I am not claiming to be perfectly okay and fine and not in need of therapy, but I promise you it would make it, I literally see it as it was meant to be that way. That story was already written to end that way
Wow.
between
Okay.
us. That's
I
just
get it.
literally my thought process.
I get it. But just remember that anything can happen to people
Hmm.
that you put on the side or the back burner.
But you know what
Um,
I am big on? I'm big on, and me, my family, my kids, anything. It doesn't matter what's the goings ons or what's to happen, how I feel about you. At this moment, I definitely make sure to tell my loved ones I love them. I'm not, all right, whatever, you're getting on my nerves. Love you, bye, click. And you'll be blocked.
yeah. And it
But,
doesn't, and you know what, you even though you're on one end of it
mm
and you're the blocker,
hmm,
you
mm
have to think about the next person's feelings on it because people who don't don't do well with getting blocked and people who like to have resolve, they're going to feel it more so than you because you have the cutoff thing going on,
hmm,
right?
mm
I would say the cutoff spirit, just to say it, for lack of a better
hmm.
term. But you do. You have this cutoff spirit, but then you have people out there who care so much more than you do when it comes down to the cutoff thing. They'll rather hear your voice or, okay, we can argue through it, even though we arguing, at least you talking to me, or at least I can make amends or something like that. The other
Hmm.
person is thinking that they can try to smooth over stuff. But by the time you unblock them, okay, things might have been cooled down, but they still remember that trauma that was caused or that what happened, right? And so since trauma don't just disappear just because, we don't think of it anymore. That person that goes through it, their brain and their body never forget. And that's the thing about one thing about trauma in every on every level that it happens to us, our body never forgets. And so you got to remember the next person could be going through turmoil just because they want to fix it and they don't have a chance to talk to you. So now they feel like, okay, they're not worth much. So you got to look at those things. It's not just a one sided thing. Because I remember when in my younger years, because I sure grew out of that, but in my younger years, it used to hurt me when people would just do that. And I never understood it. So that's why in my older years, I know how to tell people, I ask those questions first and I let them know where I stand on it. Because as soon as you want to be quick to press a button to block or quick to act like I don't exist, trust and believe they know up front, I will definitely follow the lead and I'll definitely cut you back. I don't want no people that's in my life whenever they feel like it, no fair weather friends, nobody who's going to come on their terms, none of that. It's either you're going to be grown and we're going to discuss, or we're going to tell each other, yo, let's give it a minute. We're going to come together and do whatever. But blocking, if you block me, it's over. Period. That's the first conversation. I don't listen, and I mean that from the depth of my heart because in my younger years I went through it. I felt like, what did I do wrong? It's the same rejection that anyone would feel during the rejection process. The same rejection, whether you're a friend, whether you're a lover, whether you're whomever to that person. The rejection, especially if you care about a person, that rejection is going to hit you. And then if a person start getting used to being rejected, trust and believe, after a while, they're going to start easing off to a place where they feel like they're wanted. It's not going to last. Nothing lasts when you people start feeling rejected or being rejected because they don't feel a care from that other person. Why would you? Why would you be able to block somebody when you know that you care about them? If something was to happen, you would not know until after the fact. There's never a that's for me, there's no God in that. That's just me. And for us to just turn our backs on people just because we feel like we don't want, then we're not thinking about the next person's feelings at all. At all. So this is a generation that's really don't have too much God in it to even have a foundation of that. But I get it. It's today's society stuff. That's why I make sure my rules are implemented in the beginning. This is how I am. If you can't follow these things or live this way, and I'm not asking no one to jump through hoops, I'm just letting you know if you're the hang up type and you're the type that is going to tell me some crap about you will block me and you will block or you have blocked, you don't ever unblock me because you will be blocked already. Mm-mm. Done. Done.
Very interesting.
You can't be invested in any relationship and expect to have those things done it's okay unless both sides just don't care, but I'm sure it's always a one-sided thing, even if the other person got us to come to it and accept it because what they're in a relationship and they figure, okay, I messed up, this is the way they're going to this is the way I have to get treated because of what I did or the mistake I made, so I'll just take it. I think too many people allow certain things to be done to them. And trust me, it's no, mm-mm, no. I'm too grown for that mess.
See,
Mm-mm.
people change up game is real strong. But I always say consistency breaks down resistancy. So you
Hmm.
might change up on somebody that's always consistent, and you thinking, oh, if I'm gonna block them, I'm showing resistance. Consistency breaks that down because they still gonna be who they gonna be, and they still gonna walk their walk of life. And sooner or later, because you have an emotional response of blocking, you may end up folding, and you just you just never know. And it seems to me like that other person, if they hold steadfast and said, you know what, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna treat you how how you treated me. They probably gonna be consistent. Go through with it. Now you
Hmm.
block for a couple months.
Hmm.
Now you block because I'm gonna show you, and you
Oh
know,
Hmm.
like,
no, I really that's the name of the game. It is what it is.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. See, like one of the teachers said to their work, and I never felt for that phrase too. It is what it is. To me, that's a rehab phrase. It is what
Hmm.
it is.
Hmm.
Because I worked at a rehab, and that's the slogan. You know, people. It is what it is. But that's to me, that's some cavalier type of thought process. It is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. But that's
I
not
just
how
feel
truly
like
people feel.
I just feel like all of our stories are. And I get it. Like I get karma. I get that you never know when. I just feel like all of our stories are already written. So if that separation was gonna happen, it was gonna happen regardless of whether we were in turmoil, whether we were good. If the separation was gonna happen in that way, it was.
So you don't think
I
you're
have
the
a
author of
question.
your story.
Hmm.
You
I
don't
have a
think you're the
question.
author of your story either.
Right.
No.
Okay.
That was my
Not in,
question, Jay.
not in. I I think that no, no, I don't. That's it. it. I think what the things that we do and how things come out and they may happen different ways, but at the end of the day, it was going to happen. If let's just say if you were meant not to graduate high school, it's not necessary that you'll get to the 10th grade and fail out. No, it's not that you'll get to the 10th grade and maybe you'll get pregnant. Maybe you'll have a sickness, maybe anything. But if your story is written for you not to finish high school, any of those things can happen. You just don't
Well,
know
you're
when.
saying, but here's the thing, sweetheart. You're saying that, okay, if those things are written, and from what I'm hearing, those things are choices. So if we all make a choice to say, I'm going to do the right thing so that I can accomplish these goals, then we are going to do that. Whether we make a mistake, fall, slip, trip, and bust our lip,
Hmm.
whatever, and have a child in the process, most people, they still continue school.
But
Here's
that
the
story
thing,
is already written, is
but
what
here's
I'm
the thing,
saying.
the story is not always written, because then that would make you say that you know God's plan for a person's
Well,
life.
no, I don't. I never said that I know. What I'm saying is I don't see certain things as regrets. I see it as that was how it was written to be. That was
So do you
how.
think, okay, so do you think that some of the things, the way you actually um, dealt with them, do you think that it could have been better, so that, as you say, it was already written? That was choice for you not to make a correction to make it different. So my question now is, are you making a choice to just live your own destiny in the way you choose to? Or is it that you're trying to make sure that whatever happens, both both parties involved have an equal footing, and have equality between both, and understanding between both, so that both parties won't have be at either party will be at a disadvantage, other than like the lack of communication or whatever. It seems like whenever the decision is made and you'll say, well, it was already written to be so, it's a decision that you validated. Like, I'm going to do this, so it's already written. But the next person is thinking, well, what the heck is happening? Why is she doing this? That wasn't written. If you gave them a chance to say, hey, what's going on? Let me know where you stand on something. Then that within
I'm
itself.
saying it more so. So I was saying it more so at a on a broader level of things, meaning just like I said, I'm not saying how you're going to get to it, but I feel like if you are meant to be, if your story is written for you to be a teen mom who makes an overnight success and marries rich and da 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 da, that's already written. Now, how you're gonna get to that, that's the part that none of us know. None of us is going to know the circumstance, how you become a teen mom, how'd you end up marrying rich, what ended up happening for your break of success. We don't know. You could be a church girl, you could be a minister's daughter, and the way to your success is being a porn star. We don't know the in betweens, but the story is already written. That's just that's why I don't really quote unquote regret.
Okay, I got you. Understood, sis. And one question that did come to mind was, um, spiritually, like, what's your stance spiritually? Because what I hear is like I'm still asking myself, um, what's your belief system spiritually?
I believe in God. I believe in uh, higher power. I believe in everybody having different views on how different religious facts or factors happen, but I
Hmm.
believe in our human self. We make it up to be all we want to be, but we're all answering to one higher power. And it's
Okay,
actually the same.
okay. Thank you for that clarity.
No problem.
And see, and when I look at that, and you may say that our stories already have been scripted, I tend to believe that the God in me is an editor, that I can edit and change certain situations that is not going to be scripted, because no, it could be a bunch of us in the same circumstances, but it has to be, you have to have some power to say, well, my story not going to end like their story. It's going to be something that, it's going to be some driving force,
Right. And it was
whether,
written in your story for you not to be somebody that fails or succumbs to trials and tribulations. You're gonna be the fighter out of this group of five of us. Some of us may be top of our class and then fall off. You may have had it harder than me. Our outcomes may have looked like I would be more successful than you. But because of the way my story was written and how I went through life and how yours were, we're going to end up in different places.
so what would be the point of when you have success stories and all of that stuff, that why would, if people took on that notion, and they would say, what's the point, my story's already written, then I might as well not even do anything. This is how it's going to be, this is how it's going to be, it's already written. It has
Well,
to
I
be
would
more to
hope,
it.
yeah, it definitely, I would hope that either, I just feel like either way, that's going to be part of your character, which is already in the playbook. Are you lazy? Are you going to think of it as I'm having some trials and tribulations and you know what, it's too much for me because my story is already written, so I'm going to decide that it had to be written for me to be failure.
Mm,
See,
mm, mm.
I'm
I'm gonna
just
tell
Majority
want to
you
be.
this.
I'm just want to be like, it's no co-author in my story. I'm the damn author of it. That's
Mm.
just how I think. I'm the author of it.
Right. And I just want to piggyback on that from a spiritual aspect, because one thing that I do know for sure is that the plans of God for us is to have a good life. The enemy might come in with stuff, and regardless of what, use people to throw stuff our way, or whatever it is. But we are the ones that make that choice on how we're going to deal with something, figure something out, work with something, or not work with something. So my issue is, we, even though we didn't create ourselves, the fact of the matter is, the God that we actually that created us, he didn't create us for failure. He didn't create us to go through these struggles, but the struggles are there because guess what? The enemy is also there. So my thing is, we have a walk to walk, and in this walk, we are supposed to make the choices to make our lives better, no matter how much we fall. And we are going to fall because we're human. That doesn't mean that that was written. A lot of times it's our choices. When we make certain choices and the outcome of that choice is not conducive to our lives, or it doesn't bring any joy or good things to our lives, then it's because of the choices. That's it.
Herb must got a damn buffet going on. What's good, Herb? You got a
I'm man, I'm
buffet
just
going
listening.
on?
When religion takes hold, I step aside. It's not my strong suit.
Eh, I thought you had some of them baked wings in the oven or something. You
No,
attended to.
just a salad and some rice and chicken. Nothing extravagant.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. Time is we approaching midnight. Um, Naomi said, "I am the author of my own story, but I would be nowhere without my supporting team." Eh, I get that. I understand that, and I think we all have. We need to build ourselves around having people that can help us build and grow. You have to form a team, and that's when you have to weed out folks and realize, yeah, that's my brother, that's my sister, or whatever
Right.
the case is. They're no good for me. I grew up with this person. We've been friends for a long time, but they're not they're not in your storyline. Their the illustrations or whatever case is don't fit where you're trying to go, and that's what you have to try to figure out. And a lot of us
That spoils you.
we're at an impasse with that. So with that said, we're gonna have some closing comments. We're gonna get out of here. This conversation was very interesting. It's a lot been thrown out tonight. So who would like to give their closing comment to close it out?
I'll start. Modesty in relationships. A lot of people, whether you're male or female, seem to think that it holds no weight nowadays. If we look at the fabric of our society, we see where the seams are starting to give way. I'm sure most people know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Every empire has a shelf life. And when those empires tend to fall, more decay is at the crux of it. So when you want to know where you're headed and where the place you're living is headed, just look at the morality of your society. And that'll tell you all you need to know. And as always, growth and understanding occurs in the gray area. Godspeed. See you next time.
All right, ladies.
I missed the modesty portion of the conversation. Um, but for the portion that I did hear, especially with the, I guess, test with in the beginning of relationships,
Hmm.
I would always say stay true to what you feel is necessary and within your standard or caliber of dating. And any test you want to put in play, that person is willing to withstand those tests, then do what you have to do to figure your way out.
That's true. That's true. You have to do. If you're one that's if you if you want to be a part of that person, you're gonna have to deal with it. And when you get to a point that you say to yourself, "No, I'm not gonna deal with it," then that's when you have to step away. So nobody's holding a gun to your head in these situations. Jackie.
Yes, well, our conversation tonight was very good. I enjoyed the fact that I learned a lot from the male standpoint, and in when we have these discussions, um, I'm also thankful about the young lady that came on. Her views were very interesting. Um, I hope and pray that she looks at it a little bit different when it comes
Sean
down to
dog, she gonna
judging
be all
people.
right. She gonna be all right.
Yeah,
Them
I'm
three
just
dots.
saying. I hope she looks at it a little different in the future, so that give the other person a chance to still love on you, even when you don't feel like you want to love them.
I
Herb, you
love
trying to
from a
say something?
distance.
Three
I love
dots.
you from a distance.
Three dots in the cloud of dust. I ain't mad at you, honesty.
She said
Send a
three
kite.
dots.
Send a smoke signal. You still blocked, right?
She said, even with
Yeah,
the smoke signals, you still blind.
still gotta you gotta respect her attention to detail. She see it coming and she ready to counter. She's a counter puncher. That's what she is.
Hmm.
For me,
I just
like
don't
I
like
said,
what people argue
go
and
ahead,
debate
Chauncey.
when they angry. It's just pointless. It's like nobody's sensible, nobody's making sense. Just when you calm down, when you thought about what you did, what I did, what we did together, then we can talk. That happens after the block. That's when
Yeah,
that happens.
I sort of get it. I sort of get it. Because other
Don't
than that,
nobody have to worry about me saying nothing nasty to them while I'm mad. You don't gotta worry about it, cause guess what? I ain't gonna say nothing. You blocked.
I just think the way the world has turned in the way that people utilize this blocking thing, and not even with the kids, adults, like, yeah, I blocked them or whatever the case is. If you say this or you say that, Shada, see, we just had this with, one of our former panel members that you blocked his ass.
Listen, see, see, blocked. I forgot all about it. I forgot. I'm not even mad no more. I might go unblock him, like for real.
That's so funny.
But I do understand it. But I think, for one, some people use that as a threat. Like, I'm gonna block you. I'm gonna
But
do
I
the
don't
such
never
and
tell. I
such.
don't go around telling people like, "Oh, I'm gonna block you. Do this
Yeah,
and I'm gonna block you." No,
yeah.
no, no. Now you're
Well,
probably thinking in your head like, "Oh, she gonna block me."
yeah. Well, some people use that. They throw that out there like it's gonna be the end of the world. And sometimes you at a, like I said, you at an impasse. You like, nose to nose, like, shit, block me. Okay, what now? What?
Can I ask you something, David? Was she on that day when did she come on that day when I was on not too long ago? Is she the nurse?
Shaughnessy? Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
She's the emergency room nurse?
yeah, I think, yeah, it was her.
I'm
Oh,
back.
okay.
I'm back.
Hi. Because I was just asking him, were you the emergency room nurse
Yes,
that was
and a
on
lot of
that
people
night?
seem to think that's what's wrong with me.
No, why? The blocking part or the not argue part? The
Yeah,
reason,
the unattached.
oh, and you know what's interesting because when you brought that up, you brought the statement up about one of the hosts that you blocked. Is it that same conversation that I was in on? Is that same person?
I don't even know. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
Oh, the
don't
one
remember.
that had all that going on and was like, oh,
Oh no,
you
no,
you
you
you are this and that.
oh,
Okay.
you talking about Officer Charles? No, that
Oh
Uh
wasn't
no
him.
no no no
No,
no
no,
okay.
this was
no no
somebody
no.
else.
This is
I was like, did she go and block this one? I was like, ah. I was
no
like,
no
okay.
no. It was
Okay.
somebody else. They said something crazy,
Oh
and
wow.
instead of biting back, I just blocked them. Took the high
Okay.
road.
Okay, that's what's
Didn't hurt
up.
no feelings. Didn't say nothing bad.
you,
Just
you,
blocked
you,
them, and then guess what? When
you dropped some good ones. You dropped some good ones. Don't even you hit him with some shots before you blocked him. You hit him with some
I
powerful
gotta I
shots.
gotta go find that episode.
see, I forgot. I
You hit
see.
him with some
I
powerful shots.
Oh
I
Yeah.
man,
gotta
yeah,
find that
well.
episode. You need to send me that episode.
No, this was just an accounts. Oh no, this was, I think this was on his page. Yeah, this was on his
This is
page.
this yeah. This is completely.
Yeah.
I can't. I can't even believe I forgot all about this.
I don't forget too much.
I
Because
forgot
I'm gonna
all
stir the
about
pot.
it.
I'm gonna
Boy, oh
stir the
boy.
pot. But
That
for
is
me,
hilarious.
for my closing comments, and like I had mentioned earlier, sometimes we need to take a step back to move forward. Meaning, like, you just have to, like, step back and then kind of view what's in front of you to move forward and see how you're going to counter certain things. Because
That
all
sounds
too,
like blocking.
Well, if that's how you took it,
To move forward.
no. I'm taking the perspective is let me clear it. Let me take a step back. Let me
And she
survey
all
the
nice
area.
with it. She was
Yeah.
like, "Man, it sounds like blocking." I'm
Nah.
like,
I
oh
mean, some
my
people may
goodness.
use that
I
technique,
ain't
but I'm
laughed
I'm
in
I'm
days.
just thinking about stepping back and just kind of viewing it like, okay, where do I go next? Because it's a lot going on, and you see that we have different forms of communication now and different ways that we handle things, and even this whole social media thing. Before that wasn't an option to block. People called you, you'd answer your phone, or if you had a two-way phone, you didn't click over or whatever the case is. Then it became digital, and you would be able to see who's calling you. Then it got to the point numbers would come across the TV screen and all that stuff. Before we didn't have these options. We have a lot of different options how to handle certain things, and one of the things is people like shit. They'll tell you, "I'm about to block your ass." Well, Shauna, she says she don't tell. She just secretly do it, and then they realize I can't get a hold of her. But there's a lot of people out there. I'm about to block you. I'm about to block you. I'm gonna block. But then they just be talking. Some of them they just talk because they realize, damn, if I block this person, they may not accept me back. So again, that's when we talk about KYP, know your personnel. You may say that to somebody, and they may say, "I don't give a damn what you do." Once you do it, it's done. It's over. And then they may say, "I'm gonna block you from calling me or contacting me." Some of that stuff, I don't know if it needs to be done. I think we got bigger fish to fry, and I think the more we all need to stay connected with people. Unless they really causing us serious harm, we need to stay connected. We're in a battle right now. That's what I'm gonna say personally.
That's a good point. I may review my block list tonight.
Yeah, you about to let homeboy back in.
No, no. What are you talking
How
about?
many? You got a lot of people on your block list.
Ugh.
Mm,
Y'all,
that was heavy right there. She had to breathe through it. Okay, come on, girl. Come on.
it's bad. I
Ooh,
I told you. I think I mentioned on here before when my grandmother died. She was on my block list.
Oh, wow.
I cannot.
Yeah, how you block your granny, man? You just don't do that.
Because of something that she did, and she knew she was wrong. She was dead
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. Wow.
My son was in the hospital. Well, mind you, my mother, her daughter passed away. Um, and she never really like, I don't know. Everybody, I would say everybody kind of stepped up, like within my immediate family, but her. And I felt like this was the one time where everybody was rallying around me because my son literally was given a 10% chance to live. And she sent me a text message and say, praying for you and Zion. Blocked.
Mm.
Oh,
Because what?
she never reached out or anything. Just sent you a
Yeah,
text
come down
message.
here. How about you come down here? The
Oh.
same way you run to South Carolina to go cheat on your husband.
Oh,
Same way,
Oh,
same way you came down here.
oh,
almost choked on this side. Still
Well,
choking.
well, damn.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm
Ooh,
just
she
that's the
almost made
same.
me lose my saliva in the wrong tube. Come again. No, just don't come again. Just keep going.
Yeah, but
Yes.
that was the same. It's the same way you could have came 4 hours to Maryland, jumped on a Chinese bus, did whatever to
Mm.
come see my son. And
Yeah.
your it, grandma was well and able bodied, so was like she was sickly or nothing. And my sick grandmother did make her way down there. My father made his way there. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I blocked her, and we hadn't been like on real good terms since then. And then she had cancer. I went and seen her. She was still blocked. Um,
Mm-mm.
and then she
So who?
called. She had me on the phone, or she asked to speak to me on the phone, and she was like, "You know, I love you," and I was like, "You know, I love you too." Always will. Nothing will change that. She's still gonna be blocked. And then she
So that
passed
was
away.
so that was your mother's mother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Girl, you got to you listen. That's sweetheart. You can't listen. The love of God that should be there should prevent that from being something towards people. Watch this. Who's of age and they have been in your life before you were even born. They were there. You have to remember something. The trauma that you leave in the older generation, because older generation we're reaching out, right? We
Mm-hmm.
will still love our children, grandchildren, whomever in our lives because we were part of raising them. So there is this unconditional love that's going to be there regardless, because that's what we were embedded with when we were growing up. So when we instill that in you guys, no matter how much wrong we may do as nieces or as daughters or as any child in any family, the family rallies around and they come together. As you're growing up, you'll see different situations where the family had to come. That it shouldn't, all of that love should negate from the fact that, they are not going to be here forever. And one day when these people leave the earth, whether it's expected or unexpected, I never want to say I didn't know if they reached out to me because they were blocked. You
See,
should never want that on your conscience,
It's
especially
not.
relatives.
And I'm not saying I don't need therapy. I'm not saying that it's not a bad thing. It's just literally is it just isn't. And I've lost people, and I'm not trying to, say I can't say I've been in strife with people that I've lost, but I felt like there was a distance created, and not to say that that was a good thing, but it might have been a good thing.
Mm.
and see, and the one thing I can say, as far as Shaughnessy reactions is, and I talked about this before. You have to deal with people in mathematics, greater than, less than, and equal, less than and equal. So I don't know if her, may she rest in peace. I don't know if her grandmother response was the right thing, uh, to say, like, kind of wishing well, but never made the attempt to say, okay, I need, if I'm able bodied, to come and see them. So sometimes people minimize what's going
Or
on.
call my phone.
Yeah,
I didn't even. I was just mad because it was a text message.
yeah,
You
that's
didn't even
not.
have to come down here for
Yeah,
real.
that's not a text. That's not something an older person would do. With,
Exactly.
Right.
so that's why I say greater than, less than, equal. So sometimes you got to treat people how they treat you. If they give you greater, you give them greater. If they give you less than, you give them less than. They give you equal, they give you equal. It's about mathematics and science, life. Um, and people need to know that, because other than that, you forming another matter imbalance. If you always giving them greater and they don't give you shit, sooner or later that all weighs on you. So you have to treat people how they treat you, basically. The golden
Mm,
rule.
mm. I've never
Just
lived like that, so that's kind of it's
So
not
with
hard for me to hear, but it's hard for me to look at, because we are supposed to treat people the way we want to be treated,
but if they're
right?
not, then what?
If they're not, then that's where you step away. But the mistreatment part should never come in, because regardless of what, even though they mistreat
okay,
you, stepping away is one thing, right?
yeah.
Just to bring it to a degree of, okay, let's get some air. I'm gonna just work through this little disrespect or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, if there's just a cutoff, then sometimes you may never know could be resolved just by making a statement or commenting on what was done that wasn't correct. You may get it rectified. You may never know where that other person's at. You may never know that they could have seen they wrong, whatever. And just giving them the open door just to come back and say, yo, I messed up. And especially when folks get busted and they're cheating or their life starts spiraling, a lot of times clarity starts stepping in, and then they'll start to say, well, I could have went down there and saw my relative, or I could have did more than just a text or whatever. And then they would have called or even tried to reach out in some way and say, hey, can I talk to you? But they didn't get that chance because you've already closed that door. The fact of the matter is, we never know how our conscience or a person's conscience may eat at them after they do something that starts to bite them in the butt. Seriously. Because we all, if you have any good heart in you or any heart of God, you will, when you do something to somebody that doesn't sit right, even with you, or because she doesn't have an issue with those things, but if it doesn't sit right with a person that normally doesn't do that, then you're gonna check it. You're gonna want to correct it. It's gonna eat away at you, just like a person who, for example, which one should, okay, just one example, a person that, let's say, a kid who actually never stole before, but they did. And then they'll say, oh my God, they felt bad about it. The parent finds out, make them go take it back and apologize. Regardless of what, there's a conscience that happened to this kid. Now, those things are vital for people to understand right, wrong, and different. And if there's no conscience, then you're just flowing on however I feel. It's never about what the next person going to go through behind your actions or behind how you treated them, if that makes sense.
it, it's all relevant and it all makes sense. But then again, we always have those people that you know live on the edge. Like, okay, I did this, but long as I don't get caught, because there's people
Mm-hmm.
who have that mindset. Long as I don't get caught, I'm good. And if I don't get caught, I'm going to keep doing certain things until that point comes, and that's when the remorse kicks in once they get caught. But other people,
Mm-hmm.
they live that life to try to see what they can get away with, and that's where I say the greater than, less than, and equal, because a lot of times we're dealing in relationships with a major imbalance. Can't have no imbalances. Um, you got to find some way to kind of equal the playing fields, whatever. Of course, in a relationship, there very well may be somebody that loves someone or shows someone more love than the other one, but then the other person may pick up on other areas that other person is not doing. So it's all a juggernaut, and none of us. When people say they're the experts in this shit, if y'all believe that, go for it. But
Right.
go for it. There's no experts in this. It's just
Opinion.
conversation, getting other people's perspectives, and as Herb say, adding it to your toolbox and say, man, I like what that person said. I'm going to utilize that and see how that works for me. And you just build upon it. When you have people act like they experts and get those fake certificates, I'm a life coach and all that. Get the fuck out of here with that. Yeah.
Well, you funny with that whole statement, but I'm gonna step in with that I'm gonna jump on the back of that statement, and I'm gonna let you know that I am a life coach for people with disabilities. For people with
My bad.
disabilities, been a certified one before life coach was a thing, right? 2013, I
see,
became that for
see,
people with disability because I deal with people in mental health. So I had to teach them life skills in order for them to be out there. So there's a difference between
see,
the
yeah.
life coaching that's out there and what I'm referring to. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
see,
saying? I
Jackie.
teach my
So I think
survive.
that's the difference. I think that's the difference. You're dealing with people who, some in some facet, they can help themselves, but now it's this new
Mhm.
age thing that these life coaches want to dictate and control
Mhm.
your life, whatever. So, because we're in a capitalist society that people try to capitalize on certain things. So
Mm-hmm.
now you have these different programs. Oh, you take these courses, you become a certified life coach, or whatever the case is. Your thing is helping people who can't help themselves, with people with disabilities. That's different. That's different to me.
Right,
Boy, I
and you
tell
have to
you.
get certified through the Office of Mental Health. So it wasn't something where,
Yeah.
it's just come and it's just come willy nilly, and you're actually in it. And like I said, being a counselor, and life coach, everything is hand in hand when you're in mental health because you got to cover the whole gamut of it. So, anyway,
We didn't touch up on a lot of things tonight. I tell you.
hmm
But I appreciate the back and forth, the conversation, and that's the unique thing about it all, that we don't have to agree, but we're not mad at each other. We
Yes,
learning and growing
more.
from each other and giving feedback and input, and that's how you grow. That's how you grow. I don't know how many people grow from anger when you're going back and forth, but if somebody's genuine and they're giving feedback and really not trying to shoot down the other person's perspective, you're trying to hear them out and you offer certain things. That's
Right.
how we got to do it. So, and this,
Adults.
yeah, this was a productive conversation. I appreciate it.
and Shauna, I need your number. I have a serious question to ask you.
Okay.
No, it's medically. Just that's why.
Oh,
Don't get blocked.
I know, right? You ain't lying.
oh
She
my
laughed. I had to
God.
think for a minute. That's why I was speechless. I'm like, wait a minute. Then you were like, don't be black. And I'm like, oh,
No,
snap. That might be an option.
no, I'll send you a message.
I
I can't.
can't.
I'm definitely gonna send you a message. I am definitely watching you.
That was a good way.
It was. And
Like,
I'm
don't get
there all
blocked.
I'm stuck on stupid because I'm like, wait, I gotta wait for her response. Like
No,
and then
no.
and then he was like, don't get blocked. I'm like, oh hell, that was a thought.
Trying to see the queen of the block parties.
No,
Exactly.
no, no. I'm not
Oh,
gonna
that
block
was
you. I
hilarious.
definitely gonna see you. I
That's
definitely
good.
send you my number.
That was hilarious. I really love her. She is cool for real.
That's a good one.
Yo.
Got, I got tears in my eyes.
Me
Laughter,
too. I'm over here
laughter
wiping
is
too.
great. Laughter is great.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Oh man, I ain't laughed in a minute, but that was good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, send it to me through our chat.
I
Do we have time?
appreciate you. We're gonna get up out of here. Again, a lot of times me and Herb come up with talking points. Jackie, you can send something to me or Herb, and we always want to have conversations that's resonating on what's going on and what's in our mind, what's in our heart. So if it's something
Exactly.
bothering you or something in you, and you say, okay, we need to talk about this, because I can guarantee you somebody else is thinking or feeling the same way, and
Right.
they need
Absolutely.
to hear that message. And I always say, yeah, I ain't trying to throw shade on the church, but a lot of
Right.
times those conversations is directed by one person, and I think we need to shift our focus that it's more of people expressing themselves and being able to get their word out as well. So that's why you try to have these platforms that people can come on and get, you know, get out what's bothering them and talk about it and listen to other people's suggestions, because more than likely they may have some of the similar experiences, or someone in the chat or something has
Yeah.
experienced the same thing. All right, good people. We out.
All
Thank
right.
you
Have a
all.
good night.
Appreciate everybody in the
Thank you,
chat,
Brian.
in the panel. Everybody enjoy the rest of their week. Oh, I got a few days of work and I'm on spring break. Spring break. When I think of spring break, I'm supposed to be somewhere, and I ain't gonna say Mexico because you might not come back alive. Somewhere in
Right.
Florida, somewhere on spring break, but that's not my story. But everybody enjoy themselves this weekend. We'll connect on Monday. But send any talking points my way or her way, and then we'll chop it up on Monday. All right, good people. We out. Everybody be safe.
I'm
Love
putting
you
right
all.
now. All right, good night.
Good night. Peace.